Well, hello again, race fans, and welcome to another round of IndyCar action here. It's the Prime Meridian Racing League's IndyCar action here for Season 2, race number 1 of 10, 48 laps we're going to be doing here at Road America. So glad to have you along with us here. My name is Trevor Greenfield, and I'm going to be with you all season long. And so glad to be with you again on VirtualRacing.Network. Appear to be having a little issue with our music, but that's okay because the music to our ears is these IndyCars on track for Season 2. Been looking forward to it since the end of Season 1, and you can see it playing out in the background. They're just getting started with qualifying, but I am so glad this season to not be here solo. I'm going to be joined here in the booth by none other than Julian Altena, who is making his debut here with VirtualRacing.Network. So glad to have you here, Julian. How's it going? How you feeling about today's race?
Well, thank you, Trevor, for introducing me right there. So, yeah, hello, everybody. And also from mine, welcome to Road America. Looking forward to this one. First time broadcasting with Trevor here up in the booth. It's going to be a great race, Road America. Very high-speed track. Plenty of overtaking zones as well. So, yeah, can't wait for the season to start and get going with this series here.
Me either. Well, of course, last season was a whole lot of fun. We saw Will Lyon and Alex Salmon battling it out until the very end, along with Andreas Ike, and quite exciting to see how it all finished up, coming down to the very last race in Sao Paulo, Brazil, where, of course, Will Lyon did manage to take that victory and over Alex Salmon in second, and then eventually later on some penalties and some controversy happened during the race and afterwards, but it all got straightened out. Will Lyon, your champion, and it's been just a lot of fun to watch these drivers over the season materialize into great champions, and now get to start a second season. We've got a whole slate of new drivers coming at you as well. So we're going to be able to show you a lot more information about those drivers. In the meantime, we're going to try to get this on the screen for you here with the timing and scoring so that you'll have full qualifying coverage here. And so here we go. We're just switching over to qualifying. Guess a little differently today, how we're doing in the PMRL. Actually going live there at little bit later than we normally did before, but open qualifying starting now, and so everybody heads out onto the track. Julian, kind of caught off guard there. It's a little different of a format than the first season, but nevertheless, we didn't miss any action. That was just practice out there.
Yeah, it definitely was. So the cars are out on qualifying now. They will be trying to look for a gap to do their laps in, because obviously it's an open qualifying session this season. So dirty air is going to play a bit of a factor. You might also get a draft down the straight if you're just far enough away. You'll see that often in real life in the Formula 1 races, especially at Monza and the other high-speed tracks. It will be similar here in the IndyCar. Though a little bit less drag, it will definitely make a difference down the straights. But this track is going to be great to watch the drivers go flat out on. It's going to be difficult to commit to every corner, every lap, but that's what we are all here for the challenge.
Absolutely. Here for a good time. Here good to watch these drivers throw it around a little bit, have some fun with these race cars, try out this new Dallara IR-18 road course package that was just introduced, the new tire introduced not that long ago in the series. And so there we go. Now we can start to see some of the times as they start to roll in here. And I think there's a number of new drivers in the field. Why don't I go ahead and let's see if we can get that entry list up here for you real quick so we can just take a look. And there we go. So as you can see, we have 17 different countries, 28 different drivers entered into this season, and it's led by Great Britain with 8 drivers, but not far behind. Sweden supplying 4 drivers to the championship. And you can see all of the teams entered for this championship. Again, we have SMS Racing back with us. We've got Three Crowns Racing with IAR actually split into 2 different teams because they had more than 4 drivers. So a number of great teams. Even Velocity Online Racing's got Oscar Fredrickson in there, Julian.
Yes, it's obviously great to have him in the series. I don't think he's racing here tonight, unfortunately, but the grid is looking competitive, so it's going to be a great season.
Absolutely. Completely looking forward to it and seeing how this materializes. See if any of these new drivers can take the fight to the likes of David Soranzo and Jesper Orman, you know, Andreas Eick, all these drivers, of course, Will Lyon and Matthew Levine from SMS Racing over there. All these drivers really fast last season. Going to be, like I said, very interested to see the likes of Hugo Olsen as we switch over. Take a look at Hugo. It's Powerslide Motorsports driver joining the series for the first time, joining the league now in the second season. Great to have his level of competition. Going to be kind of stepping up the pace a little bit. He's got one of the highest I ratings in the field, Julian.
Yeah, you'll see quite a few high iRacing drivers in this series, like the names you just mentioned as well. Also want to quickly mention a few rookies in the series. One that stands out for me the most is Ryan Littlemore. I've actually raced against him in a few online races on the F1 games quite a while ago. He's known to be a motorsport game streamer. And he's making his debut in the PMRL tonight, so it's going to be great to watch him. He's been looking fast in practice. And of course, there's also a lot more rookies in the field. So they will be right up there.
You bet. And Littlefield has been showing extremely well in the first couple of series practices, setting the top time, both of the practices. And another name that was here last season, but you didn't see at the front, was Christian Malkarek, who was actually... Take a look over at him for a moment. He's been racing quite a bit. Last season, managed to win a real-life GT3 race for his team in Slovakia, and it was Audi GT3, and now it's bringing all that talent back here to the PMRL, and he's also my teammate over at Last Lap Motorsports, so low-key, I'll definitely have the Slovakian flag on a little pennant here.
But it's great to get right.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to have teammates, and Christian's the only Last Lap Motorsports driver in the field. A number of these teams, including, like, if you look at Three Crowns Racing, technically 5 drivers out of that Three Crowns stable able to support each other, be on the radio with each other, and that's a lot of great support, a lot of heads up that somebody like Christian, he's not going to have anybody else to help him. And so a lot of these drivers that are just here solo, they got to figure it all out on their own. And that's not the easiest thing to do. Will Lyon, your last season's champion, on pole position right now with 15 to go, just under 15 to go. Scott, the number 1 car in the top position, 1:44.27, and that is pretty fast. Not as fast as we saw in practice in some of the qual sims that we were seeing there, but again, some of those sims you can use everybody's little friend, that push to pass button, and set a fast time if you'd like to. Not that anybody did that, but you could. There we see coming in second at the moment, it's Andreas Eick for Team Talent. As I mentioned, last season's third place finisher, strong all season, really kept it consistent towards the end. It's going to be great to see what he can do in this series. It seems like everywhere that we're broadcasting VirtualRacing.Network, we're pointing a camera at Andreas Eick, but that really just speaks to how often he is out there racing and getting some experience. You see numerous drivers now just immediately throwing on those new tires and heading out. So we'll keep an eye as new drivers are heading out onto the track. Andreas Eick currently in second. Daniel Dinsdale currently shown third with a 44.51 last time by. So right now trying to set that fast lap. But Dinsdale, another new driver to the series, so already showing some speed out there, racing around for the SMS in the SMS livery colors. And then we go and take a look at Matthew Levine, another SMS Racing driver, looking terrific at the moment in 4th place, going to be starting up towards the front with a 44.84. We'll see where he can end up in this series. And Hugo Olsen, as I mentioned, another newcomer to the series, 5th place at the moment. Not a shocker there. Hugo's extremely quick. We had the pleasure of covering Hugo's race escapades in the IndyCar iRacing series. And let me tell you, he took the fight right to the double champion Adam Crane. And it was fun to watch for quite a few of the races that we had on VirtualRacing.Network. Look for Hugo to make that same kind of charge forward during the race today. And then Christian Balkarek, as we just mentioned, now up to 6th, 44.91. So as Will Lyon drops his fast time down to a 44.27, looks like quite a few of these drivers in that 44-second range, including Sam Blackwood here, another driver that we were mentioning quite a lot last season. He kept getting up there towards the front, up towards the front, up towards the front. And that's kind of that pace that we're looking to see him capture this season. Keep moving forward with that car and see if we can't get that Wyvern Racing machine and the team back up into the front. Adam Gleason, another new driver, joining the series. It's going to be starting in 8th thus far. And Conor Pearson, another driver that apparently I and other people have trouble spelling his first name, but it is with an ER. And just make note of that, because this driver, Conor, has shown absolute flashes of brilliance all season 1. It was something else to watch. In the lead many times, and finishing quite well numerous races. So season 2, this could be somebody to watch for the championship. Another driver to join the series, Three Crowns Racing driver Alexis Newsom out of Kentucky, the sole driver out of the United States, and fortunately carrying the iRacing livery. Somehow, maybe we'll have to talk to them and see if we can get those liveries straightened out over there. But Alexis in the red, white, and blue today, and going to be taking the charge forward. Hugo Valentin joining us, one of our, now adding to the French stable of drivers, as Will Lyon now moves his time down to 144.14. Hugo Valentin making our second French driver in the field. Glad to have him aboard. Jesper Orman, another Three Crowns Racing driver, not a road course specialist by any means, will be looking to add to his skill set on road courses this season and try and round out his overall IndyCar abilities, trying to chase those championships. You know, that's one thing, Julian, is you really, if you want to chase any of these balanced championships like the PMRL, like the Indy Open Championship, where there's numerous ovals in them, or VOR for that matter, you really have to be able to do it. You got to be able to get great finishes and be consistent on not just road courses, but ovals as well. You can't be just one or the other.
Yeah, definitely, and that's of course the main part of these races. But I do have to say as well, on the road courses, it's much more important to get a good result on the road courses, simply because the ovals, though they do require some skill, they are also based partially on luck as well. So luck has to go your way in those oval races, whereas on road courses you can make the difference more yourself. If you drive well on the road courses, you'll be up at the front. If you make a mistake, well, something might not be right going in that race for you. So road courses, consistency is going to be important, and especially on the ovals too, with that luck factor in play.
Yeah, you can never count out luck, and definitely on those ovals, luck is a big thing. Also, if you can work with your teammates and find some of those secrets in adjusting the car, etc. But, you know, we've also talked a lot about how there's a lot of crossover. A lot of oval guys are kind of scared of doing the road courses, and then similarly, the road course people are scared of doing the ovals. And there is a lot of crossover between the two. It's interesting that, unfortunately, it doesn't always exactly work out that way. You can't just transfer turning left into turning left on a road course and vice versa. But in terms of, oh, and there we see a driver going off track. That's David Soranzo there having an off-track moment on your screen. And we go back and take a look at Will Lyon, but Yeah, a lot of these oval masters like Jesper Orman, and I won't name a list because that kind of just puts them into a box, but really just that whole group that know how to do it week in and week out, like in the Indy Oval Fix series, which, by the way, we also broadcast on Thursday, which will be tomorrow. You'll want to tune into VirtualRacing.Network. They do need to extend out their skills over to those road courses, and again, hopefully, by coming out here in leagues like this and really, you know, continuing to challenge yourself, you see a driver like Jesper Orman be able to get up there in those championships and really fight and get those road course finishes. But back to the game here at hand, seems like nobody has anything at the moment for Will Lyon and Andreas Ike, your first and third place finishers of last season. First and second here so far, and it's almost looking like we're picking up right where we left off last season.
Definitely, but it's also worth mentioning that Conor Pearson is also pretty close to the pace of the leaders with a 44.284, so he's looking pretty strong as well. And you got Daniel Rinsdale in P4 as well, just under a tenth behind as well. That's half a tenth actually behind Conor Pearson. Then Matthew Levine is how you pronounce his name, right? He sits in P5 as well.
Sure. I think he'll let you call him whatever as long as he's up there in top 5 and close to Will Lyon, his teammate. I've been calling him Levine after Adam Levine, but maybe it is Levine. He'll have to let us know if he can get on the podium and get up here and let us know in the broadcast booth. We'd really love it.
Definitely.
So we've got just about 6 minutes to go here in qualifying for the first round of Season 2 Road America. I'm Trevor Greenfield alongside Julian Altena. And you can reach either of us over on Twitter. I'm over at Virtual Racing N. Julian's at Julian31 Altena or VO. Let's see. Let me get that right. VO Racing. Is that it?
No, Velocity OR.
Velocity OR, sorry. Either way, you can get him and find out more about what Julian's up to. And of course, official PMRL is the PMRL's Twitter. We're trying to keep you updated all season long on all the happenings going on. And right now, it's not a surprise. 1, 2, 3, Lyon, Ike, Pearson. I think Pearson qualifying this highly would be a little bit of a surprise, but just these names by themselves, not at all. Drivers have shown well in the past and showing well here. Looks like Lyon's on another flyer, though. We've got a fast third sector. Have to see if he can manage to go yet even quicker. And of course, these drivers do have push to pass, as I was mentioning before, but they cannot use it in qualifying. And then in the race, they will just get 10 pushes of push to pass. That's it. Once you use your 10 at any point in the race, you're done. So you've got to use it very strategically. So purple sector, green sector, will we see a new purple lap for Will Lyon? Won't be close enough to quite get a draft, maybe a little bit. Final sector purple, and he does drop it to a 1:44.06 on the screen there. So moving that mark even further down, almost 2 full tenths up on Andreas Ike.
Yeah, it was a great lap by Will Lyon, and I also looked at him in the final corner on board with him, and it's very clear that he takes a lot of the track into the corner, which is quite impressive actually. I try to do that myself in these races often, but often I just hit the grass on the outside there. So it's great to see that he can manage to sprint just around the grass on the outside and the white line and just be on the limit through the corner, taking greater maximum speed through there to close his lap off with.
You bet. It's one of those things that you can ride out the tire now when you're riding it out on exit. You couldn't do that before the tire update that just recently happened. So many nuances have changed with these cars and the setups and feeling out how to get through the corners. It's amazing, and you've got to give it to these drivers. They basically take what iRacing hands them and says, hey, we made an improvement. You're going to like this. Here, drive it. And that same week, you're still in the same leagues. You're in the official series. You've got to adapt. You've got to change all your setups. You've got to change your driving style, adapt to how to get the rear tires or how to get the red tires to work better. I mean, so many things to adapt to and learn with these cars once they drop an update like this. But fortunately, the series supplying the setups here for the drivers, so they don't have to worry about that. They can just show up and drive, and it's kind of the easy way to go. Andreas Ike, a 1:44.25, but that is not going to be good enough to take second, or to take first from Will Lyon. Ike now pulling it into the pits and going to be thinking about his race today, getting ready to go for that. Conor Pearson, in the meantime, third at the moment. I think he's probably going to be satisfied with that. He might be trying to get a little gap here and try and reset, take one more qualifying lap. Looks like we've got Dan Dinsdale in the pits. Matthew Levine continuing on his qualifying, 5th place at the moment, 7 laps in, working on the 8th. And looks like last time was just getting around the track, and this lap might be another flyer for Matthew, so we'll keep an eye on that. Also, Hugo Olsen, Sam Blackwood, Adam Gleason, Ryan Littlemore, all these drivers on track at the moment. You know, I'm kind of surprised, though, Julian, Ryan Littlemore not able to get into the 43s like he was in qualifying, or in the practices. And perhaps he was using that push to pass to get there. But either way, he was setting the time there, but so far not able to match that same pace.
Yeah, I have to say that's kind of surprising to me as well. But obviously, like you said, it could be the push to pass, but it's also going to be really difficult, especially in the final few minutes. Anyone that starts that lap now, by the way, is going to get the checkered flag next time by. But to find a gap around this track is going to be a bit difficult as well. Obviously, you're going to get a bit of a draft down the straights, but that's also going to mean that you're going to get dirty air in the corners. So if you get too close, that's going to cost you quite some lap time. So that could be the case as well for Ryan, but we'll have to wait and see until the end of the session if he can improve or not.
Number of drivers out there trying to get in a last-second flyer here. We'll see if they can do it. So there's Will Lyon continuing, trying to perhaps get, be in the right place in case he does need to. In case he does need to put in a faster lap, maybe just getting set up now, coming off the final corner, going to put in one final fast flyer. We'll just have to watch and see.
Just saw Ryan use a lot of the track on the outside of turn 1 and turn 3 also, so I'm not sure if that was an off track or not, but it looked very close to it, so hopefully for him he can still keep going, but definitely using most of the track there, kicking up some dirt again. But looking pretty nice so far though, so if that lap is valid, it could be a pretty solid one.
Well, we watch as they finish up here, qualifying just over. Hugo Olsen manages to get into 2nd place, and we'll watch to see if Will Lyon can go faster. He's still working his way around, so hasn't quite arrived. We'll get a chance to see as he crosses the stripe whether anybody can manage to top Will Lyon. I don't think so. It would be sure an amazing effort there at the very end to be able to pull that off. And considering that nobody has thus far really shown the speed to be able to do so, don't think it's going to happen. And we've still got Hugo Olsen, I believe, finishing his lap. Andreas Ike, Pearson, Sam Blackwood, Soranzo, and Orman still on track. And I don't know if they have a chance to put in a final time here.
Well, Lyon going through the final corner here. Let's see if he can even get into the 43s. It's looking pretty good so far. On to the start-finish line again. And let's see.
So Lyon that time by a 44.02. He did manage to clip his own time. Just shows that he puts his head down. He's not done with qualifying, even though it thinks he is, even though qualifying time may be over and he may be on the pole position. He manages to back it up with an even lower time. Hugo Olsen came close, and Matthew Levine, their SMS Racing teammate, slotting into 3rd. Just bouncing Andreas Ike. So until just a couple of minutes to go, Julian, it was Will Lyon and Andreas Eich on the front row, and Hugo Olsen and Matthew Levine putting in last-minute, really great laps to be able to help themselves up to the second and third row. So as soon as this one, it's still officially finishing, but in just a moment we'll be able to show you the final results on your screen. And was just, again, so great to have you along with us here at Road America, legendary track for IndyCars, kart, IMSA. So many different series have run here, continue to still run here. All the famous names have won here in the past, and including one famous name that never did win here, the Unsers, supposedly with a curse that they could never win here. Well, nevertheless, many in fact, the most two recent winners here, Scott Dixon and Alexander Rossi, were actually, we'll just take a look at the qualifying results. I was going to go on and on about IndyCars and Road America, but we've got this race to talk about today. It's Will Lyon on the pole with SMS Racing, Hugo Olsen for Powerslide Motorsports, Matthew Levine third, Andreas Eich fourth. I'm just so pumped up. I'm talking over myself. I can't wait to get to the race, Julian. Conor Pearson there showing up in fifth with Andreas Eich fourth. Sixth place on the third row is going to be Daniel Dinsdale. Great qualifying effort from him in his first appearance here, VirtualRacing.Network's coverage of PMRL. And Sam Blackwood in seventh. Eighth place to Adam Gleason in his debut. Ninth for Ryan Littlemore in his debut as well. Might we see more pace out of that guy? Very likely, as these drivers are now heading around to do their warm-up. And now we talked about this ahead of time. It's Anna Joffrey, who Jarfy, do we say that correctly?
Jarfy, I think.
Jarfy. So Anna Jarfy joining the series, and great to have her along with us. Jesper Orman, Christian Malkarek there in 12th, Erica Lindstrom in 13th, Hugo Valentin 14th, David Soranzo 15th, Alexis Newsom in 16th. That's interesting to see Alexis starting so far back. She is excellent at road courses, so perhaps struggling with the setup, struggling to get in a really great lap today. But either way, just a second off. So in the race trim, that could easily be worked out. Harley Lloyd there in 17th place. And of course, JB and Vilda are admins, and so they don't count. But I'd honestly love it if they would race, because they're really, really good. But that is your qualifying order for today. We're going to go back and take a look at the cars as they are out there on the track for the warm-up. Now, in this session, of course, the real-life IndyCars doing the do warm-up as well. It's not frequent in iRacing other than the very, very short warm-up that's before the races. We practically just have a chance to turn one lap. This is 5 minutes long, gives the drivers a chance to head out, check the temperature, which, by the way, why don't we go ahead and check the temperature? It's 31 degrees Celsius on the track, 27 degrees ambient, so not too bad today. We are looking at 15, I believe it says 15 kilometer per hour crosswind, though. So that could be a little concerning at the end of these straightaways. You might start drifting to one side or the other. But this warm-up gives these drivers a great chance to head out there and do some pit stops, make sure everything is set right, make sure you have the right setup in, check your fuel numbers, go over with your teammates what your starting strategy is. Hey, we are just like 2 or 3 minutes away, Julian, from the start of the Season 2 of Prime Meridian Racing League. Can you believe it?
Actually, yes, I can believe it, but it's been a long way to build up to the start of this season. I know that the admins, Jessica and Vilda, have been putting in a lot of work to get this season underway here. And of course, just like Season 1, the grid is looking very competitive again. So it's going to be a great race. Road America is a track that a lot of the drivers know in general, for those that drive IndyCar regularly at least. So it should be a very competitive race. Just quickly going back to the win, by the way, which you just talked about. In the classic IndyCar Series race, which does use a different car, it's the 2009 IndyCar, but that also had some really tricky wind. And especially down into turn 5, that can be very tricky. So look for some drivers in the race to maybe make some mistakes in the first few laps as they fill the car out and get going for that race. So just keep an eye on that during the race as well. But going back into the first race of the season, everybody starts from 0 as well. So it's a great chance to reset yourself and try again if season 1 maybe didn't go your way.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice reset button. Who doesn't appreciate that? It's a
always like to have a reset button in life sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, for a lot of these drivers, they are competing in other series, and so in a lot of ways they get a chance to bounce in and out of cars and get a chance to hit that reset button, go drive a different race. But you know, once you get started, as Andreas Eick puts in the top time here in the warm-up session, once you get started with the season, you've got to put your head down and concentrate. It's all about consistency, and that's what Andreas Eick proved last season, being able to take 3rd place with really just super consistent results. So we're going to be gridding up and getting ready to go here in just a moment. And I'm so excited. I mean, this is definitely a different season, a different year, a different set of drivers. It's like one of those times where you have no idea what is going to happen. And so as we're going to get set here to, let's see, got a short pace lap. So we're not going to get much time to really talk about too much before we get underway. Julian, you got any notes for today? What are you thinking these drivers need to get through to get all those buttons checked off and I's dotted and T's crossed?
Well, first of all, you got to get through the start cleanly. I found out myself last Sunday in the CIS race. That's one of the more important things. I punted somebody off the road, so better watch yourself in the braking zone for the cones as well. Sometimes if you are too close behind the car in front, it's difficult to see. So getting through the start is going to be key. The pit strategy is going to be important too. You might even save some fuel to go longer on the blacks and do the least amount of running on the reds. And of course also consistency, like you mentioned, driving the same or consistent pace for a long time span, and of course getting to the end of the race without any incidents.
Well, this is it. That's how short the pace lap is. Get ready, buckle those buckles down tight, pull those straps down tight. We're going for another season. The Prime Meridian Racing League is going, and it's Will Lyon leading us down as there's a lot of movement in the second part of this grid. Hugo Olsen, Matthew Levine really jockeying for position. Andreas Eick on the outside. Levine settles into 3rd, Eick in 4th, and Pearson in 5th. But Will Lyon still in front. They get very close. Andreas Eick does to the backside of Levine. We're on board there with Matthew Levine in 3rd place. How close is Andreas Eick? Well, not very far back right now.
Surprised everybody's going clean through the first few corners there. I expected some sort of contact there, but surprisingly these drivers got away with it without an issue, so good on them.
Absolutely. A couple of drivers having some real issues. I'm not seeing Ryan Littlemore out there. Looks like Ryan Littlemore not making the start perhaps today. Christian Malkarek able to get by one car up a position. Erika Lindstrom there, the Finnish driver, brand new to the series, getting by. Also Christian Malkarek moving up into 10th spot, gaining 3 spots already. Orman now up 2 spots from his 11th place starting position. Look to see that Swedish driver moving forward there. He's looking on the backside of Adam Gleason as the front 8 drivers still exactly where they qualified. This is where the action is. Jesper Orman looking to add to that total of drivers that he's passed already of 2. So far, these drivers starting to settle in. Got 48 laps today. We're starting lap 3. Jesper Orman now looks to the outside. He's going to get it done into turn 1, and he does on Adam Gleason. He used a push to pass to get there, but Mark Jesper up 3 positions into 8th. Headed forward. Gleason, in the meantime, has dropped back 1 spot from where he qualified. We take a look back up front. It's Will Lyon taking no prisoners. Out by a second and 1.3 seconds, actually, as we see Hugo Olsen getting a charge there late into the corner by Matthew Levine.
Yes, and Erkan Lindstrom also having a look at Adam Gleason right now. Adam Gleason struggling a little bit there. So he's under pressure from Erkan right now through turn 6 and now 7 and 8. But Erkan isn't close enough to make anything happen just yet. And quickly about Ryan Littlemore, by the way, just saw on the iRacing sim that he has some connection issues. He disconnected due to incoming packet loss.
Oh, that is always so unfortunate. And so glad to have Oscar stopping by to talk to us in the YouTube chat. NSH, Allcart, hey, thank you for stopping by. We do appreciate it. Hope you're enjoying the crystal clear 4K resolution and Julian Altena's Dutch accented English voice.
Yes.
Yes, I hope you're enjoying that thoroughly with surround sound and IndyCar engines. Thomas Christensen stopping by saying let's go. And Phil Lee dropping by telling us he'd love to be able to defend the win from last season. We were just asking about you this morning, Phil. Bummer not to see you out there with the Spirit Box team, but look forward to hopefully getting you back in there next season. And in the meantime, I hope you can sit there and watch from the comfort of your own living room on your couch as Will Lyon does it to the field again. That last lap of 1:45.57, fastest lap by Will Lyon, your season 1 champion. Oscar letting us know, so I'm going to assume that's Oscar Fredrickson? It just says Oscar.
Yeah, that's Oscar Fredrickson, yes.
Okay, Oscar Fredrickson. There's a few Oscars. There are a few Oscars, but Oscar F. letting us know wants to be able to make the majority of the races. We'll look forward to having you in there, Oscar, and repping VOR as well. And we'll get Julian's name and team out there a little bit. Looking back in the field, we got Hugo Valentin, new driver to the series, Frenchman, up 3 positions thus far, being able to get by Anna Jorfi. And yeah, he did. Unfortunately, I started talking about him. He's probably got it on his 4K television set, and he heard his name and looked over. And Anna Jorfi, sorry, I'll get it right. I apologize. Jorfi, it's not that difficult. I'm just struggling with it. Looking to get by Valentin now, goes down the outside. Can't quite get it done. Going into Canada corner. She's now got Christian Malkarek right behind. Dutch English commentary, best commentary, so says Oscar. You bet. I figured I figured the more the merrier. The more we can mix them all together, the more we can all have fun with it. And Julian's doing a good job of that. Actually, crystal clear to me, and I hope everybody's enjoying this. First time PMRL, we're getting to have 2 announcers, and just continuing here at VirtualRacing.Network to do better.
Levine
what happened?
Inside of Hugo Olsen there and takes the position up into P2. Very unexpected move in turn 2, but Olsen's going to come back to the inside now for turn 5 into the braking zone.
Side by side they are, coming down into the quarter. Who will it be to check up first? It's Olsen, who takes the early entry, slides wide, gets out onto the grass a little bit. It's Levine back to the bottom, and he makes it stick. Matthew back to the lead, or back to second place, as Hugo Olsen now is going to have to regather and rethink how he wants to attack. That's left the door open to Andreas Eick just behind to attack Hugo Olsen. So right now it's SMS Racing 1-2 with Power Slide third, and Team Talent fourth. Wyvern Racing running in 5th and 6th. And of course that team championship, a thing here. Last season, SMS Racing coming out of really nowhere, not only taking the Drivers' Championship with Will Lyon, but also taking that very coveted team championship. So who will it be this season? That is the question. But right now, a 3-way battle for second place, and that's as exciting as you could ever hope for here at Road America.
Yeah, and just going back to the previous lap there by with Hugo trying to make a move in turn 3 there. Like I said, it was a bit unexpected, but I think that move was set up in general by Matthew making a slight mistake because he seems to be pulling away again. So I think that's why Hugo was able to have a go at him in turn 3. But to make any moves, really, I would recommend going into turn 1 or into turn 5. Because if you do it before turn 3, for example, like Hugo did the lap before, that car behind that you just overtook can easily get back at you into the braking zone.
Well, let's go back and take a look at that pass because we missed it. This was just a lap ago with Levine there diving, kind of making a later move, but sized up Hugo Olsen and got around very cleanly. That was for position. Then, of course, Hugo able to strike back and then pushed a little bit wide. Matthew able to get right back by. Phil Lee letting us know he's in the student lounge on campus. Sure hope you got that 4K television going or HD television going full blast out there. Get those IndyCar engines and Dutch Glish and Cali Glish or whatever you want to call my English out there as well. Will Lyon, your leader here with 5 in the books. We're working on the 6-1. Driver from Scotland up 4.5 seconds. Make that 4.6 seconds on his teammate Matthew Levine in SMS Racing livery. And of course you see their sponsors there, Project Cars, and carrying the tribute to Ian Bell on the front. We also appreciate the VirtualRacing.Network signage on the car. Greatly appreciate that. But Slightly Mad Studios, where these two do a lot of work. And we talked to Will Lyon about it a number of times, and Will has been adamant to say that Project Cars has been his training ground to get so good. So I don't know if that's sales or if that's the truth, but either way, Will Lyon is doing whatever he wants with this Dallara IR-18 IndyCar and really showing his speed as the Season 1 champion.
Yeah, and we're only 6 laps into the books, by the way, and he's already got a 4.6 second gap over Matthew Levine there, so the pace is very much into his car. We also saw a few people, well, I also saw a few people move out on the start-finish straight to maybe make a move, but they weren't close enough yet. But these people definitely want to get a move on, so look for the midfielders to maybe make some overtakes happen in the next few laps.
Well, and now we have a little bit of a different tire strategy going on here. We do have Hugo Olsen on the black tires, so making that decision to start the race on black tires. The black tires have basically been close to equalized in the series. They're not quite as fast as the red tires, but the red tires now fall off quicker. So there is a trade-off, and certainly as the race goes on, we saw Will Lyon using this to his advantage just as the new tire model dropped. It's the very last race of the season. Will Lyon able to take advantage and use those black tires in race that we were broadcasting here on VirtualRacing.Network to his advantage, and that may be the case again today. Right now it's not too hot at Road America, but the hotter that it does get, it falls into the drivers with the black tires hands. And certainly if Hugo is looking to do the overcut on these other drivers and go more laps on fuel, he may be fuel saving at this moment. Probably not, but either way, he would want to do it on the black tires.
Yes, and Hugo Valentin is also having a look at Adam Gleason, but isn't close enough into turn 1. Almost came together there, but Hugo decided to get out of it there. But about the tires, it's going to be interesting to see how much these drivers will be using the red tires. They fall off the quickest, like you said, but the blacks in general are just the better compound, simply because they are very consistent. They barely fall off, a little bit, but not much, as Adam Gleason is making a move on Jasper Orban up the inside for turn 5 here. But the black tires definitely get you through the race a lot nicer than the reds do, and especially depending on the temperatures like yours.
As we watch a number of these drivers now sliding around, it looks like Valentin having an issue in dropping back. Now shown only up 1 position, but back into 13th spot. Saw him drop off there just as we had mentioned his name again. So again, turn down your television set, Valentin. You don't want to hear your name and get scared and drive off the track. I don't know if that's what's happening, but it's twice now, so it might be a coincidence. I don't know. But as we look there, Christian Valkyraek now back where he started. I tell you, the big gainer today, Erika Lindstrom, up 5 spots and looking great in eighth spot at the moment. This Finnish driver is showing some consistency, not getting any off tracks, not getting into any danger, and perhaps this could be a top 5 day for Erika if we keep going at this pace.
Definitely, and the field is going to spread out as well as the race goes on. So getting into some clean air might also help Erika out quite a bit, because the pace seems to be pretty good here at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see what Erika can do.
Well, as we put the last lap times up there in the tower for you to take a look at, you can see what your favorite driver was doing that time by. We'll also get the track map up on the screen so you can see where everybody is at exactly with each other. You can see it's a very close battle. Everybody kind of just about hanging about a second back there as you see Conor Pearson go to the inside of Andreas Eick and make his way forward. I think what we might be seeing there is Conor Pearson is on those black tires, and those red tires of Andreas Eick might be starting to fall off a little bit.
Yeah, and the sun is also out, so the track temperature will be going up pretty quickly as well. It won't be by much, maybe a few degrees here and there, but it will definitely help the black tires as the hotter temperatures favor them over the reds.
And we'll keep an eye on that. Right now, 31 degrees on track. So pretty warm, not the warmest that we've seen in a place like Road America, but one thing that was happening, maybe it's, I don't know, something special about Road America or changes by iRacing as we look at Andreas Eick now under attack by Conor Pearson's Wyvern Racing teammate Sam Blackwood, who also started the race on black tires. You just see Andreas Eick really sliding around there and struggling with the car. And I think we might see an attack here from Blackwood at any moment. There he goes down the inside into turn 1. Who will own turn 1? Neither driver giving an inch. They hold side by side. Still side by side, and it's Blackwood who moves ahead. Eick forced to concede the position. No room to go side by side through that corner. Eick now looks to possibly take the charge back. All right. Eick now takes another look. Nope, he'll settle back in behind Sam. And I can see a little bit further back, it's Erika now just dropping back as Adam gets back around. Adam Gleason gets back around Erika Lindstrom there. And so Erika now only 4 positions gained, but that's still a handful. Gleason back to where he started the race. So let's do a little recap. Julian, we've got, it's lap 9 we're on right now. Will Lyon is kind of in his own zip code. As you can see, there is not a single driver around. That's a very nice feeling when you look in your mirrors. You don't see any problems in front of you. So we look from our visor cam here. There's nobody in the mirrors back there. There's nobody in front. It's just your own race to run. That's what Will Lyon's doing at the moment. Last lap, a 46.77, one of the fastest drivers on the track besides Hugo Olsen, who's directly behind, 5.5 seconds. So we jump back to Hugo Olsen in second, and Matthew Levine now first driver to pit. Andreas Eick also following just behind. So we see Hugo Olsen now slide into second, Conor Pearson into third. Sam Blackwood moves up into fourth, and good to see team owner of Spark VR Last Lap Motorsports, Ray Kingsbury, stop by the chat room, rooting on his teammate, his driver Christian Valkyraek from Slovakia, trying to take the charge. He's doing it. He's doing it, boss. He's in 9th place. He's up 3 spots, trying to bring home some medal for the team. So Christian not yet pitted, and we watch this battle. As you can see on your screen, the track map and follow where those drivers that just pitted are at. So coming in very, very early on lap 10. A number of drivers, I think, perhaps trying to make it exactly on certain fuel numbers, and so spacing out their stops and figuring out how long they want it to go. Now what we're seeing is the majority of these drivers on black tires. Only 3 drivers remain on red tires, and they are drivers that have not yet stopped. So Will Lyon, Dan Dinsdale and Erica Lindstrom, the only 3 drivers on track at the moment with red tires.
Yes, and I'm on board with Ike right now, and he seems to be struggling for front-end grip on these cold tires. One thing about the tire strategy, by the way, you saw Andreas Ike and Matthew Levine starting on the reds. They are now going on to the blacks, and I would assume that they're going to try to do the entire race, the rest of the race, on the blacks now. And for those that started on the blacks, we'll be trying to go the first 2 or 3 stints on the blacks, and then for the final stint, they want to move to the reds. The thought process behind that strategy is the track will be coolest by then, so the reds fall off less significant and less, a little bit slower as well. So that's something to keep in mind. And going back to these 2 drivers, they took the reds off as soon as possible, so now they try and complete the entire race on the blacks.
It sounds really, really, really difficult to do, but these drivers are extremely experienced, and well, we'll just have to watch to see how it plays out. But the black tires have really, I mean, this has been a game changer. You just go back not that long ago, in fact, before the start of 2021, we didn't even have red tires. There was just one compound, and then multiple updates later, the red tires were practically, I mean, they were so fast compared to the black tires, but they had overheating problems, and you go and wipe out after 6 or 8 laps if you didn't absolutely care for those tires. Now, with this update that's dropped, the black tires have actually become preferred in some certain situations, and certainly are no longer the terrible punishment that they once were. So it's a lot of fun to play with that strategy, as these drivers now get to take tires into their own hands and actually have some strategies to be able to utilize. Will Lyon continuing on here, lap 12, still has not pitted. In fact, your top 8 positions have not yet pitted. We've now got Erica Lindstrom and David Soranzo making their ways into the pits.
Markovic just got by Hugo Valentin in turn 1, by the way. Moves up into P7, sorry.
Well, definitely Christian making an assault on this championship. He wanted it so badly last year, had a lot of misfortune, getting caught up in a lot of other people's wrecks, but you know, right there kind of outbreaking himself a little bit and giving a chance for Hugo to get back into it. And that's really what this series is all about. It's great talent, but it's a challenge for anybody, whether you're in the front, the middle, the back of the pack, wherever you're at, to try to come forward and push yourself and try and gain those positions. Both these drivers on those black tires, and Christian, neither one of them have pitted at all. So right now, around lap 12, these things are getting pretty greasy.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw this on air, by the way, but Markovic and Valentin just went side by side through turn 6. It was an awesome battle to watch. Maybe worth a replay, maybe. So that was pretty awesome there. A lot of respect given by both of them.
I did see that. I don't know, as an IndyCar driver, I'm getting like detuned to driving side by side with people, but it is so exciting to watch these drivers push it side by side. There's so little room. I mean, you're in these cars and it's one thing to be able to put in a fast lap, Julian. I mean, you're a fast IndyCar driver, but to go side by side through all of these corners and have to adjust your line and adjust your braking and be able to overtake, that's a whole different skill set.
Yeah, I agree with that. First of all, though, thanks for calling me a fast drive. I appreciate that. But Yeah, driving side by side on road courses especially is very beautiful, of course, from the outside. When you're driving in the car, most of the time, I can pretty much guarantee you any driver thinks that. They're probably most of the time they're like, please don't hit me, please don't hit me, because it's difficult to leave the space sometimes. Taking too much speed into the corner, you can either lock the brakes or understeer out wide, you can take your rival with you. So it's always the risk of running side by side, and especially in these long, great battles to watch, it can be something that is a little bit scary for them.
Well, we've got two teammates running together. That's a pretty tight battle at the moment. It's Conor Pearson and Sam Blackwood, the two Wyvern Racing teammates. They're just two teammates who have picked up where they left off last season. We even saw their teammate at the time, Eric O'Connor, drop in and win a race and then leave. But these drivers, they're all season long poking up into the front, and not a surprise for me to see Conor Pearson and Sam Blackwood right now in the top 5. Of course, they have not stopped, and would you believe this driver right here just set fastest lap of the race, or of his race, a 46.05 on his way into the pits. Hugo Olsen with a monster in lap, doing exactly what you want to do and executing at a very high level here. This is the type of challenge that it's going to take, as he did clip into Will Lyon's lead. I don't know if you noticed, Julian, he did manage to pull off about 2 seconds, get the gap times back on there because it's relevant now, but he's only 3.5 seconds back as all these drivers, Will Lyon, Olsen, Pearson, Blackwood, Gleason, Jarfie, Valentin, Malkarek, Lloyd, and Newsom all in the pits at the moment. This is something else. Will Lyon gets out ahead by, we're seeing 2.8 seconds, 2.7 seconds. Hugo Olsen chipping into that lead on pit road, and with his in and out laps, now just 2.8 seconds between Olsen and Lyon, and that's how you challenge a champion, Julian. You got to get it done in all aspects, all parts of the lap, and all parts of the race. Hugo Olsen executing extremely high level. We'll have to see if he can manage to climb another 3 seconds and get up there and fight with Will Lyon.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. And I just went back through the replay on the sim myself, and I definitely saw that Will Lyon was struggling on these old red tires. So Hugo also with a monster in-lap, as you said as well. It is important to note, by the way, that all the drivers, well, most of the drivers that just pitted went onto the blacks, which projects my assumption of all the drivers doing black, and then onto the reds towards the end. So that's going to be pretty boring strategy-wise because they're all doing the same. But the pit window for the red tire runners was already open for a few laps. So I have to say I'm also a bit surprised that they stayed out this long, because they clearly could have gone off the reds a lot earlier than they did.
Well, and that's, I just wonder if that isn't some new things to work out, because in the old days you had these things worked out as far as how far you could go on the reds, how far you could go on the blacks, and I think a lot of times people are making calculations, you know, how far do I want to go? How far can I stretch it? But the reality is sometimes different when you're out there on the track. Sometimes the tires start going off a couple laps ahead of time, and you hear it in real life IndyCar all the time. Drivers complaining in Formula One, etc., complaining to their teams, hey, bring me in. I'm done with these tires. They don't work. And so, you know, it's something that Will Lyon is the champ. He's won numerous races. He's back in action today, and he got the pole position. And so it's kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at the same time, wow, did you see Hugo Olsen really get loose back there on exit? That was a heavy moment. And we also have another note. We're going to take a look back just a moment ago. This was Harley Lloyd having a moment in the Los Angeles Lakers car, getting off track there, and then had another moment, this time into the wall. We'll see if we can get back to that. He had another off track, and then this off track, just coming through the carousel, easy to get out wide there. Once you do, that's pretty much the end. Almost looked like you could control it, but sadly the wall claims another one, and then that's a long tow back to the pits. But back up to the front, we've got Will Lyon on lap 15, leading by 3.7 seconds now over Hugo Olsen. As you mentioned, Julian, all of these drivers now on the black tires, except for Hugo Valentin, who's on reds, Christian Malkarek on reds, David Soranzo, Alexis Newsom, and Harley Lloyd, who did in fact make the start, but is currently shown, well, did in fact get back to the pits, but currently sitting in the pits. And Ryan Littlemore, sadly, just seeing him at the back there and hearing the story that he got disconnected, but we'll look forward to seeing him in the next race. In the meantime, up at the front, it's Will Lyon leading Hugo Olsen, Matthew Levine, Sam Blackwood, Conor Pearson. It's your top five: Andreas Eick, Dan Dinsdale, Adam Gleason, Hugo Valentin, Anna Geoffrey. I keep getting it wrong. Jorfi.
Yes.
It's one of those like syllable pronunciations you don't normally do. But Jorfi, in 10th, she qualified in 10th. She's running in 10th. Sometimes that's the best day of all, Julian, where you qualify kind of like middle of the pack and you say, this is my debut race. I really don't want to mess up. I don't want to like fall too far back. I'd love it if I could get a couple of positions, but if I could just finish, mid-pack in 10th, I'd take that for my first race in the championship.
Yeah, definitely. When you get into a new community as well, though, it's also important to learn the drivers that you're racing with. You might not know the majority of them. You might not know some of them. So you have to learn the way that they race you, and they have to learn how they race you as well. So that's going to be something that they will be figuring out, all the debutants in this series today here. But just to get a result underway for the start of the season is going to be a top priority for them. Just make as little mistakes as possible, as you mentioned. As Malkarek is going to have to look at Lindstrom now again into Canada corner. Let's see, on the reds for Malkarek, goes down the inside there and takes the position. Nice clean move there. Oh, slides out a little bit wide though, but manages to hold on the exit there. But yeah, learning the community, learning the car for some of them as well. Some of them might not even drive the IndyCar too often. So just to start the season with a solid result, like I said, will be the top priority.
I think just not crashing out of your first race and not ending up with, bottom of the race points, like Ryan Littlemore, unfortunately, is going to do. Harley Lloyd, same thing. Harley is having a good race. And, another couple of drivers, again, these are series, these are series challengers. I mean, these are challengers for a championship. When we're looking at Alexis Newsom currently running in 15th, and then Soranzo in 14th, Jesper Orman in 13th, all of these drivers are definitely going to be challenging for the championship. So it's kind of surprising to see them running back here right now. As you see Orman kind of stepping aside there and letting David Soranzo get around. That was very kind of Jesper. But again, all of these drivers that are currently at the back, it's a shock because we will see them fighting for wins here in this championship. And so I'm not really sure what's necessarily holding them back today, but it is strange to see somebody like Alexis Newsom, who's been known for her road course capabilities as well as her oval capabilities, struggling. But I guess that maybe just says something about the quality of the field this season. Another driver that we were hearing was going to be entered, and we have it on the entry list, was Henry Bennett from Team Powerslide. So unfortunately, he wasn't able to make the debut race today, the season kickoff race today. But we'll look forward to getting Bennett and a number of others that are slated, like Fredrickson and numerous others that are entered, to get them back in the field. So we just watch through the field at the moment, and not a lot of tight battles. It's Will Lyon who leads Hugo Olsen by about 3 seconds, and then it's 6 seconds back to Matthew Levine. Sam Blackwood shown here, a second back from Matthew Levine. That last time, Blackwood about 0.4 of a second faster. So we can go through the push to pass also. Will Lyon, Matthew Levine, Andreas Eick, and Anna Jorfi all have 10 push-to-passes remaining. Everyone else having used several. Hugo Olsen, Blackwood, and Pearson all down 3 pushes, down to 7. And everyone else with about 8 or 9 remaining. So nobody yet out of push to pass. They'll be saving that for the very end here. And still, I've said it a number of times, we're not even halfway through this race, and it's already become the Will Lyon show. He's just doing what sometimes you see on these road courses when someone just gets that rhythm right. They know how to hit the corners exactly right. They've been feeling out the fixed setup. And I know, Julian, if I was Will's competition right now, this first race, this might be setting the bar quite high. I might be a little daunted looking at this this high of a bar I have to climb.
Yeah, I think that's what a few of these drivers will be seeing right now, especially the top 5, which seem to be the most competitive, of course, after, 19 laps of the first race, but still, it is a benchmark that has been set already. And they'll probably be like, oh, I didn't think it was going to be this difficult, so they have some work to do for the next few races. So yeah, that's going to be key for them to try and improve and get up to that standard that Will Lyon is currently setting. He just stretched his gap to 4.4, by the way, so he seems to be picking up the pace over Hugo Olsen again. Also a lap ago, Hugo Valentin got around Adam Gleason again on the red. Very nice move into turn 5 that was a lap ago. So he's on the move again as well. We saw him make some moves earlier in the race as well. So I don't think he's very shy of battling other drivers here today.
No, and sadly, also, Alexis Dewsom's day not getting any better. She had a crash there, took off the front wing, and now we're getting, and Alexis Dewsom has come into the pits, and now, after doing some extra work, Christian Malkarek dipping a wheel off a little bit, bringing up some dirt. That's not going to cost him too much, but it alerting our system that he's kicked up some dirt. Christian's going to be wanting to reel it in so he doesn't go flying off the track, and hopefully he can be looking at a top 10 at the end of this one. Go back to the live picture, and Hugo Olsen, as you mentioned, drifting back a little bit, 46.95 last time to the 46.37 of Will Lyon.
Yeah, he just lost 4 tenths on that lap again, so Will with some good pace at the moment.
Matthew Levine, Will's teammate at SMS, able to also match pace with Will, 46.53. Matt Levine, now the fastest driver on track that last lap, with Will Lyon second. So if Olsen, as we see a couple of drivers here, this is a battle that's happening right here. Andreas Ike trying to chase down Conor Pearson. Both these drivers on the button. Olsen trying to come, or I'm sorry, Ike trying to come from a little ways back to get it done. On Pearson locks up heavy coming into the corner. Unable to do so. This battle happening right now for 5th place. And not very far back from Ike is actually Dinsdale there, about just under a second. So he's looking forward. He's looking to try to come forward. Watch these drivers continuing to battle. Andreas Ike once again trying to get it done. Trying to get back around Conor Pearson, reclaim that top 5 position. But Pearson fighting hard, as is his teammates and Blackwood. Pearson kind of dipping a little tire off there, sending a little dust on the track. You know, Julian, in real life, that's kind of a technique that you can use. If you got somebody following you real close, you dip a wheel off, you put a little bit of dust up on their face and in their visor, and hopefully it scares them a little bit.
You saw it on Twitter, didn't you, in the F1 Austria race?
No, I've done that in real life, I'm sad to say. Yeah, it's a competition, fun thing to do that people do in club racing a lot on karting tracks. No, I was doing that 20 plus years ago, and my dad was doing that probably 30 years before me in Formula Atlantic. Back to the race, though. Will Lyon leading Hugo Olsen by about 7 seconds now. So Will Lyon really jumping up the pace here. But this battle happening back here for 5th. Conor Pearson leading Ike and Dinsdale. Three-way battle that these three they're like magnetic, stuck to each other, nose to tail.
Let me just quickly chip in here. The reason why Hugo Olsen is 7 seconds behind the race leader now is because he made a mistake out of turn 2, lost the rear end, took a grip through the grass and rejoined the track without any damage, of course. So he is still going, and his car undamaged. But I think that did scare him a little bit there. So he's going to have to find his rhythm again, which often is going to go a little bit away from you after a mistake like that. So he's got to rebuild his confidence and maybe try closing the gap again until the final pit stop phase, which should be about 6-7 laps away.
Well, let's watch that one again. We did just see it. Let's see how it looked from Hugo. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and he had done that just a couple of laps before. I had made mention of it, but not nearly that severe. And he did manage to go off in the grass, do a little lawn mowing there with the power slide machine. But you see Ike on the outside, trying the outside on Pearson. That's not usually the place that you can get that pass done. Unless you're somebody named Ray Kingsbury who's watching. He's the type of driver that can do it, or perhaps Will Lyon. But it is super hard to make that pass in turn 1 around the outside. Andreas Ike, he has no fear, though. I've seen him put some moves in there before. You don't normally expect it, though, Julian. He's a very reserved driver, very reserved when you talk to him as well. And very confident, but if he needs to make that pass down the inside and make it aggressively, Andreas is not afraid to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I've seen this on one of your graphics earlier in the previous podcast. Andreas isn't one of the, let's say, older guys on the surface. I think he's under 20 as well, on age as well. So he's one of the more aggressive drivers as well. He's got nothing to really lose. He can just go for it. And other people might be a little bit more experienced in life and don't think, okay, well, I'll just back out of this one. But Andreas is just like, let's just go and see how it goes. So it's great to watch. His aggression is great to watch here as well. And of course, we are doing that right now as he is falling back a little bit from Conor Pearson. But yeah, definitely on the move here today as well.
Well, Ike is definitely one of those drivers we carry. As I mentioned, we've covered him in the IndyCar iRacing series. We've covered him, of course, in the PMRL last season. And Ike does pull into the pits, so that probably was as much to avoid having to try to make another move and get held up as anything else. Ike now in the pits with Levine, now on lap 23. So if they're trying to split it equally in half, they didn't quite make it, but it's close enough. And also Jesper Orman in the pits as well. But back to what I was saying about Ike, you're right, he is young, but then again, I didn't know that before I started covering the races. And when you see Ike, as Levine leaves the pits there, when you see Ike running at the top end of all of these different races in open and, in the league races, and I was in elite with him as well. I'm in elite with him. You have no idea how old he is. He's just that good. And, and then I found out how old you were, Julian, and I'm like, this guy's everywhere. How are these young men able to do so much with their lives? And at 17, I thought building a website was cool. Anyway, all these very talented young drivers being able to compete with older drivers, and that's one of the things I love about sim racing and iRacing. It's just one of those really, really cool things where we can all come together, no matter who you are, where you are. You can come together on iRacing and sim racing and come out here and join the PMRL. And hey, when you're out there on the track, it doesn't matter who you are or what your nationality is or your I rating. If you think you can beat Will Lyon, you better prove it on the track. If you can't, well, then that's proof positive that everything works the way that it should.
A well-proven back marker is also a road that you could take, but not recommended. Nah, just joking aside. We aren't really seeing too many battles going on at the moment. We do have a few cars close in proximity to one another, but none of them are really making any moves at this stage. And of course, just as to say that some cars go into the pits to get out of there. So Daniel Dinsdale into the pits as well. Savanza stays out, and Levine is coming through the final corner now as well. So he's going to take a position from Daniel, but he's got a long way to go down the pits. As Erica Lindstrom also makes. Is it a he or she? Do you know that? I want to get their pronounce right. But anyway, Erica's in the pits as well. Gets into the pit. Oh, actually overshoots the pit box as well. So gonna lose some time there. Up the jacks from the blacks onto the reds now. So that's very bold to go on there. This early in the race. The pit window just opened as well for one more stop after this one. So really technically 2 stops. So Urkel's gonna probably try to do this stint on the reds and then go onto the blacks. Or maybe do both on the reds actually, that could be a possibility too.
We have Erica on the reds. And Newsom reds, Orman blacks at the moment.
Alright, so that's gonna spice up the strategy towards the end of the race then. Because Erica was right in that group of cars before Erica pitted. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Erica can make up some ground now in these few laps. Of course, the tires will be fresher now. So it's going to be easier to make up some ground compared to the drivers that Erica was around. Because they're going to be in older tires. Of course, older tires usually are slower. So it's going to be interesting to see how this pit cycle is going to play out.
Well, I put in our driver information form, I just tried to do a little research, and I put in a place for drivers to put their preferred pronouns, because it's very important that we get that right. Erica chose not to put anything at all, so I think by default we'll just refer to Erica as they.
All right, sounds good to me.
Perhaps it's a English language barrier thing as well, so maybe we'll just talk to Erica after the race and find out. That's the beauty of trying to find out all the information about everybody out there. There's a lot of info to gather, but we love meeting the drivers and finding out their backstories, and we'll look forward to bringing you everybody's backstories, showing you where to find them on the internet, on Twitter, and where they're streaming on Twitch, etc. if they are, and trying to connect you up with these drivers so you can follow them along, not just for this season, but be able to follow them as they go on and do other cool stuff in sim racing and beyond. Some of these drivers also talented enough to go out there in real life and do racing, so it's always fun to follow everybody's exploits. So we've got 23 to go here, with Will Lyon in solid control by 6.4 seconds. He's not really walking away from Hugo. He's slowly, it seems like they're kind of trading a little bit here, a little bit there. Hugo will manage to clip into the lead a little bit, and then as you saw, Hugo had a couple of issues through turn 2, going off track one time, so you're going to lose a second and a half there. So if Hugo can manage to keep it on track and keep it together, he does seem to manage to clip in a tenth, a couple of tenths every lap. Unfortunately, Will Lyon is he's the champ, and he's looking like it right here in this broadcast as well, because he's been relatively mistake-free. That being said, he perhaps was a little too conservative on that first round of pit stops and lost a solid second to Hugo Olsen. That's something that there's very few things that I can even possibly bring up to Will Lyon that he might go and take a look at after the race, but that would be one to find out where that time was lost. And well, that's why Hugo Olsen gets paid the big bucks over there at Powerslide Motorsports, that's for sure.
Yes, and of course we are right in the middle of a little bit of a pit cycle here. A few drivers deciding to pit earlier than others. Because of that, Sam Blackwood is currently in P3, and I've raced against him in other leagues, VR as well, also in Mid-Ohio last season here in the PMRL. I think he already knows where I'm going with this when I bring this up, when he watches the broadcast back. Unfortunately, made some contact in the keyhole there. But overall, Sam, one of the faster drivers as well in the series. He's definitely top 10 pace, and he makes his way down pit road now as well. So I'm curious to see what he can do here today. He seems to be in a very solid position, being around the top 5 for the most part of this race. So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do here today, as he is going to get into the pits. Probably going to go to the Reds here.
Well, we'll wait to find out. It's going to be interesting to see what everybody's choices are here for the end of this one. Will Lyon is on black tires. Hugo Olsen, black tires. As he heads out onto the track. Sam Blackwood receives service, black tires. Everybody, it seems, electing to take those black tires. So as it's resetting here, you see Blackwood coming under fire from Conor Pearson just behind his teammate. Probably, well, actually 4 seconds back, I'm looking at 2 different drivers on the track. We got Matthew Levine just ahead of Sam Blackwood. So 1, 2, 3, and 5 and 6 exactly where they qualified. If you're looking for the superstar in that group, it's Sam Blackwood who's in 4th, splitting that group because he has come from his 7th place starting spot all the way up to 4th through some very consistent driving. And now taking a look at the backside of Matthew Levine, trying to size this one up. That's going to be a... If Will Lyon is Mount Everest to climb, I don't know what that would make Matthew Levine to get over that mountain, but it's a mountain nonetheless. It's not the highest peak, but it's one of them. And you're going to have to do some tall work if you're Sam Blackwood right now, perhaps using the button, but he's not. So Will Lyon, Matthew Levine, still with 10 push to passes. They've used 0, trying to reserve it for the very end. Perhaps going to put in a super fast lap at the end, perhaps just using it or just keeping it on hand in case they need to defend. And so not having to do so yet, as Sam Blackwood cannot find yet the pace to challenge Levine, but we'll keep an eye on that battle. In the meantime, 5 seconds adrift of 4th place was Conor Pearson, and just behind Daniel Dinsdale, who's on the button. Both of these drivers on the button. Dinsdale trying to sneak one up the outside. Took a look and not able to do so. You head down through 2. And Dinsdale going to be trying to take another look here in a moment. Pearson on the button, down to 3 pushes ahead, while Dinsdale still has 5. Somewhere behind, Valentin also on the button. So these drivers continue to work at each other, and again, we're back to this 3-way battle that we had not long ago. It's Pearson, Dinsdale, and Ike. Oh, Ike really going out wide there. And you know, that's yet another thing that this new tire update has done, Julian. If you do get it a little wrong and crossed up in the old days, those red tires that you were on, if you were on the reds, which at this point you couldn't go to the black tires in the old days because, and I say the old days just before the update, because they were too slow. So you would have been on the red tires and they would have overheated, and you wouldn't have been able to save the tire. You wouldn't have been able to save the car from going around. It just would have spun out, like where Andreas Ike just now on the black tire was able to gather it back together, ride it out of the corner, and as a result, it's much, much more realistic to what the real-life drivers are facing in those cars and the ways that they can control their IndyCars as well. So bringing these drivers ever closer to what it's like to pilot one of these real-life IndyCars. I can't wait until we get the Season 2 champion the opportunity to drive a real-life IndyCar, which I'm trying to put that deal together, but I don't know if that's going to come together this season. But we're going to try to get it done, Julian. PMRL champ, possibly getting a real-life test in an IndyCar. Let's see if we can make it true.
All right, let's do it.
You have to pull all of your contacts there in Denmark and see if we can get that done.
Yeah, create a GoFundMe page.
Right. But we recap here, working on the 29th lap. And Will Lyon is putting him away. 6.7 seconds back to Hugo Olsen now. And again, it's not like these drivers are just out there putting in the laps. They are pushing every lap. Hugo Olsen desperately wants to eat into that lead. You see him taking all the apex there in Canada corner, using up all of this curbing, doing everything that he absolutely can to come forward, and not able to use in this series one of the tools that he can in some of the open series, where he's got the arsenal of Powerslide Motorsports tools and data to be able to crunch and give him some intelligence and information and teammates to be able to work off of to get a great setup together, etc. This is a fixed series, and much like he does on Thursdays as well, with Jesper Orman, Thomas Christensen, and a number of others coming out for the fixed series, Hugo showing that he not only has mastery when he has a great setup under him, but also when somebody just hands him a setup and says, here, go out and drive, he knows how to do something pretty magical with that too. And sitting up here in second place, you can see just riding the car through the corner. Beautiful to watch as the car kind of started to kick the rear end out there, and he's able to catch it. So again, this is just some of the finesse driver control that these drivers are actually able to finally employ in these Indy cars, and make more, I think, out of these fixed setups, squeeze more of that slip angle that you need, more of the turn in, more of the riding out of the car. You can do all of that and get a little bit more than your competition. That's where Hugo is making his time right now, and not just in this series, across the sport. He's one of the elite IndyCar drivers. It's awesome to have him in Season 2 here in the Prime Meridian Racing League.
Yes, and we've also got another few great drivers in the series as well, like Ike, of course, as well as a few others like Alexis Newsom. I heard they didn't go too well. I know that she won the Lyon of Speedway Series race at Charlotte the other day. So yeah, to have this kind of a disappointment for her at Road America, of course, is not going to go into her mind very well. She wants to have a good result there, and wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. She is the second retirement of the day, as Harley Lloyd was the first one. But going on to start-finish here on board with Sam Blackwood. He's been sitting behind Matthew Levine here for a few laps already, not really deciding to make a move yet, so maybe they're trying to work together or something. I'm not sure if they're teammates or not, but Sam is clearly not fighting it too hard, so I think he's trying to save some fuel, go as long as possible on this stint, and maybe short fuel, on his final pit stop.
Well, with 18 to go, we look to see on that final stop who is going to make what choices, but it looks like the black tire is the way to go. And we'll see. I mean, if they can get it down to, say, 10 to go or so, that should be fine for the red tires to make it that long. But as we said, even when you're just getting up around 8, 9, 10 laps, that's when the trade-off can happen and the black tires suddenly start gaining pace, as we have seen in the past. Yeah, and amazing about Alexis Newsom, if you were watching the open race from last week, I believe it was, that side-by-side with Adriano Pinero, that was absolutely astounding. Actually made number 1 out of the top 10 in the iRacing highlights. So Alexis is quickly becoming an IndyCar superstar in iRacing, and again, that's just kind of the shock. It's like seeing one of the top runners in IndyCar find themselves in the first race out of the race. It's kind of surprising, but she'll have to regroup and see what she can do to try to get that back together. Still 9 races to go, so plenty of racing to go, lots of points to be had. And I know a lot of these drivers are going to use today to kind of feel it out and see how they need to make their adjustments going forward. The one good news was in the practices, it was spotted by numerous teams that at a 70% radiator, all of a sudden drivers were having problems blowing engines here. And so rather than tell everybody, well, just deal with it, the Prime Meridian Racing League listened and went to work and opened up everybody's radiators for them another click, and that seemed to solve the problem. But kind of weird how this track seems to work these engines like none other.
Oh, Sam Blackwood just went wider out of turn 7, but yes, the Road America, of course, known for its very long straights. You would think with all the long straights, there's plenty of high-speed air to go into those engines to cool them down again. But you're also on the throttle a lot of the time, so the temperatures go up very quickly. And of course, it's very important to have these open radiator inlets to, of course, minimize these temperatures going up. So that's why PMRL did that. And of course, it's great that they listened to the drivers, because, like you said, it would be a bit bad to have all the engines blow up in the middle of the race. So yeah, glad that they sorted that out. But Sam Blackwood clearly pushing as he is making his way around Road America here again for his 32nd time. Got 16 laps to go, so the big window will be opening in 2 laps. You can make it 14 laps if you save some fuel. If you drive flat out, it will be 13 laps. Of course, you can save up to 15 laps if you really save a lot, but that's going to really cost you a lot of lap time, so I don't think anybody will be trying that. But that's just to give you an idea of the fuel strategy in terms of being able to make it to the end. Like you said earlier, if you want to go to the red with, say, 10 laps to go, you really have to save fuel this stint to short fill later on.
You got to plan it all out. That's it's a lot of work. You got to do a lot of mental gymnastics and really keep track of everything. But the best do very, very well, and everyone else just tries to play catch up, I think. And not to mention, on top of that, even though this is a fixed series, of course, it's hard for me to keep bringing myself back to the mindset of somebody who may not be as familiar with these Indy cars, because, you know, you and I, Julian, we're spending like all of our time with iRacing and IndyCars, etc. But somebody who's new may not know these fixed series and the official fixed, they may have slightly different rules in what you can adjust, but for the most part, you have the front anti-roll bar stiffness, the rear anti-roll bar stiffness, and then the braking bias, as well as the weight jacker on ovals that you can adjust these cars with. And that's pretty much it. You can't adjust the downforce. You can choose which tires you want to take, but for example, you can't adjust the starting pressure in those tires. So pretty much everything else is closed off, and that means that you really, really do need to focus on those anti-roll bars, how they adjust, how they affect the cars over the length of the race. And as we look at this battle between Conor, Pearson, and Dinsdale continuing to go on, and we've now seen Andreas Eick drop all the way back to 8th place. 4 spots lost on the day, but so he's dropped out of this battle. But Pearson leading Dinsdale in 5th place for Wyvern Racing. And so a number of these drivers making a great splash today. Of our newcomers, Daniel Dinsdale, the top newcomer this season, but right behind, as you can see right there on the track, is Adam Gleason, who in 7th place, brand new to the PMRL. Great to have you on board, Adam. And then you see Andreas Eick, who slipped back now to 8th place. Again, tricky to get it right this many laps in a row, but again, not something that we're used to seeing Andreas struggling with the car here. And Anna Jarfi getting up a spot now into 9th, trying to make it a top 10 in the debut, along with Hugo Valentin just behind. So these drivers, again, brand new, and somehow able to get one up on Christian Malkarek, who's up a spot today. Hugo's up 4 spots today. So those drivers are actually probably pretty happy with their day. I know Christian's not going to be happy with today. Not looking forward to that conversation in our team debrief. He's going to be very frustrated. Christian has very high expectations of what his results can be, and as you saw in qualifying, he does have the pace to do it. It's just a matter of time before he can get up there and challenge the likes. But that's another thing. As we are working on just 14 laps to go now, we see David Soranzo back in 13th and Erica Lindstrom in 14th. Now coming into the pits, so Erica going to be the first one for her final pit stop of the day. Yeah, but that's another thing is, you know, part of the challenge really is just knowing that it's all about evolving and kind of growing, and it's really hard when, you know, you're a fast real life driver or you're fast in other disciplines. Perhaps you're really fast in LMP cars, or you're fast in a Formula One car or something like that. You come over and you just can't quite match the pace of the elite drivers in there, and you're used to being able to do it elsewhere. And you have that expectation, like, why can't I translate this? And so you just got to be patient with it, Julian. It can be days, weeks, months. You might have to work with a coach. I know so many different setup shops and coaches are available now. I think Adam Blocker was talking about in Lionheart coaching something like 17 of their drivers over there. So, I mean, and that's just across the board. I know that Apex and, you know, Majors, all of these different setup shops offering coaching opportunities, as well as individual drivers offering opportunities. So, you know, not that that's how Will Lyon necessarily has gone about it, or others. I'd love to ask him, but just to get you over that hurdle. I mean, going to racing school and getting an instructor's opinion, that's the way we used to do it in the old days. And nowadays, right with a click of a button, and, you know, you can be right there with somebody around the world who can walk you through it and tell you where you're missing out a little bit and where you can improve. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also pretty awesome that Majors Garage is a sponsor of the PMRL, by the way, which is probably worth mentioning as well. So yeah, check them out as well. Majors Garage is a setup shop, like Trevor just mentioned, also offering coaching services. Just wanted to throw that in there for them. But yeah, I personally know Isaac Morris. He runs Apex Stage Coaching. I also recommend him. So yeah, if you're looking to take that next step, check out Apex Stage Coaching. And of course, like I just said, Majors Garage also very experienced driving coaching as well. But just watching Anne Jorvie right now, and she's in P7 at the moment, up 3 positions from where she started. Hugo Valentin is right behind her, and Hugo's up 6 positions. So Hugo's actually the biggest mover in the field as well, and has a great race so far with 12 laps to go. The track temperature is also going down slightly. The track is now 30 degrees Celsius, which was 31 or 32 when the race started. So it is going down, and especially as the day goes on. It's almost 4 p.m. in the sim right now. So the cooler the temperatures, the longer the red tires will last for any final stints on those tires for some people. And the more difficult it will be for the blacks to compete with them. But I think still, though, the black tires will be the dominant tire to be on. But just in case you still have to run those reds, it will definitely suit you to have some cooler temperatures in that stint.
You've got to adjust to all of these different parameters. It's not just what your competitors are doing out there and trying to cover their strategies. You got to be thinking about it. Yeah, it's getting late, and you know, another thing that could get dropped on these drivers during the middle of this, possibly during the middle of this season, but it may wait until next season. We may have rain come to these drivers possibly at the end of this season or the beginning of next season. All of these things are a factor. The weather is not static here. There's tire debris that builds up, rubber builds up on the track. There's dust accumulation, that kind of thing. You got to watch out for all of that. iRacing is just getting more and more and more realistic and giving these drivers everything that the real life drivers have to deal with as well.
Yes, and judging by the screenshots that we saw during one of the Charlotte charity events from iRacing, I believe it was 2 or 3 months ago, I want to say. We saw some screenshots from the rain as well, and it looked to be in a pretty far stage of development as well. So I personally think we are going to get it sometime after the new year, probably in the first month of the year, maybe 2 months, so in January or February. But it is going to come very soon. I'm expecting myself. I don't know code or anything, but it looked pretty far in development to me, so that's what I'm going off. But like you said, that's going to add some extra challenges to these drivers, and with the weather, the temperatures going up and down, you might think it doesn't really affect your car too much, does it? Well, for example, if you are doing 1 minute 45s at Road America in 40 degrees track temperatures with the same setup and maybe some slightly more closed off radiators that we just talked about as well, you could go even quicker, maybe go into the 44. So it's a huge time difference at Road America. And then many other tracks as well when the track temperature goes down, which is the most important in these cars. Also wind direction is important. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind for all of the races, in fact. So yeah, that's
Well,
basically.
and you have to go through all of this in your mind, and keep your head down, stay focused out there on the track, because it's 11 to go. I mean, we get into asides here in the booth, and it can be really easy to do when you're putting in the laps, lap after lap after lap. You're trying to just stay consistent, not do anything different, lap in, lap out, hit your marks, and your mind can start to drift. I was just in a race with somebody who won, and I was on the radio with them, and they were talking about a total different race and trying to figure out some different strategy for that other race. And I was just like, hey, you got to stop and focus on this race. This is the race that you're winning right now, because it gets really easy to get sidetracked. And again, it's a lot. It's a lot to keep going through your brain. You got to focus. You got to stay concentrating. And that's to say these drivers as well. I mean, just because Will Lyon is the champion and he qualified on the pole and he's been, perfect, etc., thus far this race, that doesn't mean that he isn't just one small move away from throwing this car off the track. So you've got to maintain that crystal focus on what is going on, what those important variables are. Am I feeling the tire starting to slip off? Am I starting to notice anything going wrong with the car? Am I covering properly what my fellow drivers are doing? Am I keeping aware of what their relative times are? Does it look like they're climbing on me, that I'm losing on them? A lot of times these drivers have to do this for themselves because there isn't anybody to do that for them like a crew chief would. Speaking of crew chief, some people do have that application installed. They're able to get that kind of extra information from a virtual crew chief who will feed them that information. But it's so much to keep track of. And really, when you see one of these drivers like Will Lyon be able to put, 9 seconds on a driver like Hugo Olsen, you got to keep in mind he's doing that, not only driving fast laps and keeping it on the track, but he's got to keep all of this going in his mind as well. So it's so many disciplines you have to master to be fast in one of these Indy cars for 48 laps at Road America. It's kind of crazy to think that you and I try to do it, but we do.
Yeah, definitely. And when you focus this long, you're staring at the screen or using a VR headset even for some people. It's also very difficult to get distracted at one point and make a mistake that can ruin your race. I've done it plenty of times myself, I hate to say, but that's a big part of it, to stay consistent, like you just explained as well. So just got to keep on it all the time. And one person that's been on it all the time is Sam Blackwood in P3 right now. Currently 3 seconds clear of Conor Pearson, and Sam just pulls into the pits for his final pit stop. Let's see which compound he goes on to this time around. He might be going on to the Reds now the track temperatures are cooler. We are inside the 10-lap window as well, so I think it is very likely, in fact, that he will go to the Reds. So let's wait and find out what he does. But so far, been very impressive here today, very consistent and clean. I don't think I've seen a single incident from him, or even an off-track. So doing a very good job here today. And there are even more cars making their way down pit road. Conor Pearson is one of them, Adam Gleason as well, and Jorfi in the pits as well as Hugo Valentin. So many cars going into the pits with less than 10 laps to go for the final stints now. As Sam does go on to the Reds. And many others behind, in fact, do the same. So all of them in the pits go onto the reds for a final few laps of pushing. Flat out, as Sam goes off the track a little bit there. So that's his first off track that I've seen today. Back out onto the track in P4, P5. I don't have the accurate information.
P4 at the moment.
Right, so P4 only dropping down one position. But of course, the pit cycles are underway right now. So some people might pit a little bit later than these guys did. So less than 10 laps to go, 8 laps to go in fact. Let's see what these guys on the reds can do compared to the drivers on the blacks.
Absolutely. And so Lyon and Olsen finally taking those red tires, a prerequisite, having to take both compounds during the race. And waiting until the very end, so that should let you know what their opinion of the red tires are here. But it's worked out well for them, able to move ahead of third place by 20 seconds. Will Lyon is able to be ahead of his teammate Matthew Levine. And Hugo Olsen hanging on tight into that second position. It's amazing. If you want to know whether qualifying works, the top 6 positions, only one of those drivers is different. And that's Sam Blackwood, who's come up from 7th to 4th. Everyone else exactly where they qualified. Will Lyon, Hugo Olsen in 2nd, Matthew Levine in 3rd, and Sam Blackwood 4th. Conor Pearson 5th, Dinsdale 6th, Gleason, Giorfi, Ike, Valentin is your top 10 at the moment. And so far, I think Will Lyon has the pace out of the pits. Last time by was a 2:12.07, so we'll have to wait until he comes around here for this lap where we can get the official numbers. But Will Lyon has not really put a tire wrong. Our software does say he has. It's calling 6 off tracks, but that's approximate. Andreas Ike shown with 17 off tracks. I don't think that's real either. So somewhere in there is the real number, but we're looking right now as Matthew Levine is about to face some serious attack here. Matthew Levine on the black tires, Sam Blackwood on the reds, and the time has come. Blackwood has arrived. You better hold on to your hollyhocks. Julian, this one looks set for a fun ride into Canada Corner. Down the inside of the track, side by side, down the back stretch and into Canada Corner they come. Blackwood down the inside, he makes the move and takes it. Put Blackwood up into 3rd. 2 Scottish drivers now on the podium.
Yeah, so like I said, Sam's been doing a great job here today, making the most of his consistent pace today. So he's up 4 positions from where he started, and now he can try pull away from Matthew Levine right behind him there, as he just made that move, as you just all saw as well. One thing that I want to mention as well, by the way, is the schedule for this season. So next week we go to the first oval at Worldwide Technology Raceway, which is a short oval. And I'm expecting the oval specialists to be on the pace there as well, like Alexis Gleason, who won a trial from the Lionheart series. Ike is also very good on the ovals as well. And I believe Ryan Littlemore is going to make his first oval start in at least a while. I'm not sure how many ovals he's done ever in his life, but I want to say not many. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do on that oval as well. And of course, you've got a lot more drivers that are going to make their first trip to an oval in this series at least, or the first trip to an oval ever in their iRacing career. So that's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, a short oval, pit strategy will be very important at that track. After that, we go to the Red Bull Ring in Austria, before we go to Spa, so 2 European tracks coming up. Then we go to Indy, Barber Motorsports Park, Texas Motor Speedway, Long Beach, Pocono, and then the final race of the season at Watkins Glen. So that's the schedule.
That is good. I agree. I'm excited. It is a great schedule this season. It's pretty classic racetracks, but again, that kind of classic racetrack gives everybody something that they should be familiar with, and these are very familiar ovals to anybody who has been doing IndyCar racing. Pocono and Indy and Gateway, these have become the staples, definitely, on the calendar, and they always race really, really well. It'll be fun to see these drivers have to adapt to them, especially the ones that only handle road courses. But again, you got to stretch in all directions, and that's just one example. You got to definitely learn how to oval drive if you want to win the PMRL Championship. Would you believe, Julian, there with 7 laps to go, you see it on your screen, Hugo Olsen, a 1:44.8, saying, I'm not done yet. I want the bonus point for fastest lap. The fastest driver on the track, and we've seen him be able to clip into that Will Lyon lead. But I'll tell you one thing, Will Lyon is he's got like that kind of proud lion strut happening right now, where it just seems like he's in control and he can't put a paw wrong. He's about...
I like that pun.
I worked all off season. That's all I got to show for it, but hopefully that was worth the 5 seconds of joy it brought you, Julian. It is joyful, though, to watch these drivers continue to tear around Road America, legendary American circuit in Wisconsin. I was saying ahead of time, as soon as I got up this morning, I knew it was race day. We're kicking off the new season, and I thought of Road America, and I could practically smell the bratwurst, and my mouth was salivating for the brats and beer here, as they're known for camping out. I'm sure you got a similar thing. What do you do when you go out to the racetrack? What's like the best food to get in Denmark?
In Denmark?
Well, no. I'm sorry. In anywhere, whenever you go out to get food at a racetrack, what is your favorite thing to get?
Well, it depends on the racetrack. I went to Spa more recently, which, well, yeah. We shouldn't talk about that race because it wasn't a race, but when I was at that track, I ate some Dutch food, and you might not know this name, or you may do, but frikandellen. It's a very traditional Dutch snack, and I ate some of them there at that circuit. Yes, Belgium has frikandellen, which is a little bit weird to me, but I guess Belgium was part of the Netherlands a long time ago. But anyway, that's what I had there. You can also, of course, like at Road America, have bratwurst, and in Germany as well. So it depends on which country you're in for a race. Which snacks you can get there. But
what about for you in the Netherlands? Do you guys have any sort of in particular treat?
Well, in a way we do. Yes, frikandellen are a big part of that as well, in a way, as a treat. But really, what I'm thinking of right now is after dinner.
Yeah.
Like desserts.
What kind of sweets do you have?
We have a lot, actually. I don't even know what to name to you right now.
If you go out to the fair, what's the big thing that you get? What's the big sweet thing to get?
I don't even know this English word, man. You're giving me a hard time. There's this, I think it's cotton candy. Is that the right word?
Right. Yeah, we've got that one here.
Yeah, we've got that one here too. You can also get stroopwafels there as well, actually. So that's also a great snack to get.
Oh, those are the best.
Yes, I agree with that. They're very lovely indeed. But there's so many that I just can't. So I'm not even gonna try.
Talking about the food, I mean, that's all part of going to the track. It really is. And I hope anybody who's watching at home is having a good snack or enjoying their favorite beverage. So we've got 4 laps to go, and it's just one of those things that, again, Road America is well known for. But as you can hear from what Julian's saying, we have the same stuff. Obviously, bratwursts are not from Wisconsin; they're from Belgium, and so it's heavily borrowed either way. But French fries and pizza and all of it goes back and forth anyway. So my favorite's nachos, and you can get that anywhere in the United States. But I don't even know. It's probably not even like a Mexican dish. who knows?
Spanish?
But what's that?
Spanish, maybe?
Spanish? I have no idea the origin of it. I just know that we have nachos here. It's chips and cheese, and it's everywhere. Like, you go to Long Beach Grand Prix, you got King Taco down there, and lots of good food to eat. Anyway, back on track here. 3 laps to go. We're coming to the end of round 1 from Road America. It's Hugo Olsen, 7 4/10 back from Will Lyon. Would take the leader, Will Lyon, going off track and severely damaging that car or having a couple of loopabouts in order to allow Olsen back by. But he's held strong all race, and it's looked good for the yellow machine coming forward and getting power slides, team name up there. And you also see Sam Blackwood, who is the top driver right now for Wyvern Racing, which is kind of surprising, honestly, given Conor Pearson's pace, especially the end of last season. But to see Sam Blackwood getting it right this week, I've had a couple conversations with Sam, busy driver, always thinking of stuff and shooting ideas over at me. And Sam's, I think this is exactly where Sam's going to want to start the season. Up 4 spots on the day, you know, looking at 3rd place going into the 2nd race of the championship. I mean, this is exactly on target for Sam Blackwood, acquitting himself extremely well today. Matthew Levine, we'll find out later, but Matthew has had a heck of a day. Unfortunately, he's drifted back a spot. He was qualified 3rd. Looked like he was running tail gunner for Will Lyon for quite a while, as Will Lyon's been burning through those push to passes, and he's doing one again. He's down to just 1 remaining after this one. But Matthew Levine in 4th, still going to be happy with the start to the championship in 4th, but I'm sure he'd love to pip Sam Blackwood here at the end and get that 3rd.
Yes, and also I just saw off screen there, because I think you missed it because we were talking about all the track and the traditions. Jorfi and Dinsdale had a spicy battle on lap 45. So yeah, in the meantime, while you bring that up, speaking about Sam again, it's great that he gives feedback. Of course, he wants to help out. He's a great member of the community and also a great driver.
And there you can see exactly what happened. That was Dinsdale and Jorfi going off track. I think Dinsdale kind of let Jorfi back by, realizing that he had wiped her out. So that was kind of the gentlemanly thing to do. And later on, I guess they had another off track. This was later. Oh, that one's not ending well. Let's go back a little bit moment before. This was Jorfi going off track by herself. And then, wow, swinging it around, getting a wheel lifted in the air, and doing some major damage to that car. Sounds like she can't even get it in gear from that point. That was an amazing crash. We'll go back and look one more time at that one. Get sideways, and then you're just a passenger at that point. One wheel off, front wing damage. And it will not go into gear. That is something else. So Jorfi's fantastic top 10 run today comes to an end. Currently shown in 14th spot. But no such misfortune for the top 3. It's where they qualified, and I guess we missed it. So we'll go back and look at it as Will Lyon takes the white flag while we were in the replay. Headed down the backstretch. It is Levine down the inside of Blackwood, stealing that podium position away. Look at just a momentary blip for Blackwood, and that was all Matthew needed to sneak on by. So we go back to the live picture. And it is Will Lyon still in front by about 8 seconds as he's finishing up his final lap. Under the white flag, Hugo Olsen in 2nd place. And then looking back, this is still somewhat of a tight battle for 3rd, as they all finish their final lap. One other battle still going on here. It's Disdale with Ike just behind, and Ike kind of sliding the car through the corners. Rough day for Ike. Back to 9th after qualifying 4th, but he'll try to get this position before the end of this one. In the meantime, we've had nothing but amazing things to say about him thus far today. He took the pole position in amazing, convincing fashion. He led every single lap. It's Will Lyon who takes your victory here, round 1 of the PMRL. Your victor, Will Lyon. And Hugo Olsen brings it home, just 7.8 seconds adrift. He held that time pretty well for the end of this whole race. So Hugo's only got to look at that little incident that cost him several seconds and say that was the difference right there. Matthew Levine, several seconds back, bringing it home in 3rd. Sam Blackwood will bring it home just in front of his Wyvern teammate, Conor Pearson. Those two getting 4th and 5th, and that will do great things for them in the team championship. Adam Gleason gets 6th. So in Adam's debut, gets 2 positions and manages to get 6th there. Valentin in 7th, Dinsdale in 8th, and Ike not able to get back around in 9th spot. Orman comes home in 10th, and Malkarek finishes it up in 11th. Erica Lindstrom, who we've heard from Thomas Christensen, is very much a he, but we'll let Erica make that declaration. And Erica there in 12th, gained a spot today, so great for them. David Soranzo, as I mentioned before, it's just shocking to see. Soranzo was a top 5 driver on a lot of road courses last season, and also on the ovals, very, very fast. And so it'll be interesting to see what David needs to do to pull this one back forward. But we look at Will Lyon. Did he run out of gas? He's on the backstretch and cycling through some options there. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it back around to the start-finish line. You see Hugo Olsen also pulled off on track.
Yeah, Will's out of fuel. His engine is not running anymore, so sadly we're not going to see any donuts from the race winner here today, but nonetheless a great performance by Will. And yeah, congratulations to him.
Well, we see Hugo Olsen attempting to take the shortcut, and he does so back to the pits. And so we'll get this junk off the screen and take a look at your final finishing order here. There it is. Will Lyon. The show today, all about the Lion in front, able to easily take the victory. Will's just one of those drivers that when he's got what he wants under the hood, he is all ready to go. Hugo Olsen bringing it home 2nd, as I mentioned. Matthew Levine completing that podium, and 2 of the top 3 positions for SMS Racing. That is going to be something interesting to talk with them in the interviews about. What was your thoughts on the day, Julian, as I try to track down some of these drivers for their interviews?
Yeah, in my opinion, it was a great race to watch. Of course, the top 3 finishing where they are doesn't really represent how exciting the race was. We've seen plenty of overtaking here today. Sam Blackwood finishing in 4th from starting 7th. Hugo Valentin moving up 7 positions from where he started. And of course, also Andreas Ike losing positions there from 4th to 9th in the end results there. So the field did get shaken up quite a fair bit today. So it was a great race, very competitive as well. And of course, all the strategy played a big part in this race as well. So can't wait for the next race at Gateway.
Absolutely, to go straight from this track to an oval is going to test these drivers immensely. And so we're taking a look over into our booth and just kind of waiting for some of the drivers to drift in. But we do have our 3rd place finisher, Matthew Levine, joining us here, and we'll see if we can talk to him. Matthew, you got your mic muted. There we go. Can you hear me?
How you doing? You good? You good? I see you got a friend in the commentary box now.
Yes, hello.
Do you two know each other?
No.
No.
Well, now you do. Matthew Levine, DJ Altena, Julian Altena joining us, and Matthew Levine stepping in off of the first race of the season for the PMRL, taking third place for SMS Racing. First of all, Matthew, the moment came up, I wasn't sure. Is it Levine or Levine? What's the right way to pronounce your last name?
Levine.
Levine, there we go. So I just wanted to make sure we get that right because we're calling your name all season, last season, and I have a feeling we're going to do it again. What a heck of a run. You qualified third, Will qualified first, and on that start, everything seemed to be going your way through the whole race. You even were up as high as second. How did it look from your standpoint? Everything go your way?
I mean, yeah, to some extent it did. I mean, I have to say I'm a bit disappointed with my pace throughout the race. I was kind of hoping to stay a bit closer to Will and Hugo, but those guys were just on another level today. But a bit nervous towards the end when Sam came out on those reds, but I had my push to passes saved up and the blacks just came good right near the end and I was able to get him back.
You had a ding-dong battle going with Sam multiple times during this race. It seemed like you had your hands full. It was always somebody challenging you for something, or earlier was also Hugo Olsen. What was there any point that you thought maybe you might slip further back in the order and that some other of the drivers had the right tire strategy? Was there ever a moment where it seemed like it was in question that you might get third place?
Well, to be honest, I thought the strategy was okay that I had. I think at worst I could have finished fourth. Sam had some real strong pace on those black tires. Like, very surprising to me. I thought he would never have gained that amount of time, but he closed right up to my rear end every stint. And I was nervous when he was putting on those reds because I knew he'd be quick on those first few laps. And the question would have been how far away could he have pulled on that early stint of reds, but he didn't quite get away enough. And I was able to stay with him towards the end and get him back.
Absolutely, able to get him back, and it was interesting to watch because at that point it looked like you were able to just keep the lead and keep cruising to the end.
Yeah, at the end, after I passed him, I think his tires must have been dead because he had no answer for me, and I had push to passes saved up, so I had a fun lap of just burning through those, being rapid on the straights. But yeah.
Well, able to use those tools as we were mentioning ahead of time. You and Will hanging on to those push to passes until the very end. Yet another little piece of strategy that you get to use. Were you talking about it during the race with Will? How are you and Will during the race? Do you guys talk a lot to each other? Are you alerting each other about strategy and what each other are doing, or do you just like to be super quiet and go about your own races?
But today, I must say, today was a bit sweatier. Wasn't as much talking as we normally do. But yeah, no, we are discussing strategy and stuff all the way through the race. You know, we're talking about fuel and stuff. And for example, like when Will was on his in lap for his last stop, he lets me know so I can then use a few push to passes and just have that slightly quicker lap before Sam comes out. Because I think if I didn't use the push to passes, then Sam probably could have jumped me in that final pit stop anyway. So yeah, we are discussing strategy a bit.
Well, and you've got to keep, Will honest. I mean, you got to keep him focused to some extent. I'm sure he's frequently drifting into conversation about what you guys are working on for Project Cars, and you got to keep him focused on the track and on winning. And obviously the same goes to you. You got to keep that focus. But nevertheless, you took the championship last season for SMS. With both of your hard efforts, and you went up against a number of different really talented teams that had quite a few drivers in them. It's looking really good for both you and Will in the Drivers' Championship, but you should be in the lead. Well, you will be in the lead of the team championship going into the first oval race of the season. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it's certainly a much better start to the season than we had last season. I mean, the first race I crashed out and then my VR disconnected, so I finished like way down in 19th. And Will, I think he had an all right race, but only finished like 4th or 5th. So we're off to a much better start than what we did last year. What's last year again? Last season, but feels like a year. We've done a lot of project cars in between, enough to last a lifetime.
It really is amazing the way that these seasons break up, and Julian and I were discussing that in the broadcast. It really, if the seasons break up like this, it's not like real life IndyCar where you've got to go a whole year, and if you start off the season on the wrong foot, it's going to be a whole nother season till you get a refresh. You get a chance here in the PMRL in the second season to push that reset button, and come back at it again strong and make your adjustments and try again. So nevertheless, you don't need to do that again next week. You're probably real happy to keep going in this season and see what can happen. Thoughts going to next week in our first oval of the season?
Well, the ovals, they didn't go too well for me last season, and well, I think I could have done much better in the ovals. I had the pace and the strategy in some of them. Like Pocono, I was right up there in the battle, and then I didn't press the pit limiter, so got a penalty and dropped a lap back, and just mistakes like that cost me in those oval races. But well, I've never driven Gateway before, so it's going to be a learning experience for me.
And you'll definitely have your hands full. The other drivers obviously have a ton of experience with Gateway, because that is a staple of the IndyCar circuit. It seems like Fixed and Open have been running it quite a bit as well. So with somebody like Hugo Olsen, Jesper Orman, these drivers have won many, many times. Alexis Newsom as well, IndyCar iRacing series. She was right there at the end and ended up taking that win on VirtualRacing.Network. So while you look super strong here, you're going to have your work cut out for you next week.
I look forward to the challenge. To be honest, ovals are great fun to do. Something so different from the road stuff that I normally do. And yeah, it's always good fun being that close to all the other cars, going at like 100 something miles per hour.
You bet. And well, good luck to you again at SMS. Anybody else to thank before we switch over to another driver?
Just like thank Ian Bell for the Project Cars games. That's what got me and Will, and I'm sure so many others, into sim racing. And yeah,
that's a really cool story, and that is a great tribute that you do for Ian. So we'll look forward to seeing Ian's lovely face adorning your livery for the rest of season 2. Everybody stay tuned right here, VirtualRacing.Network. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You get much more info, and you'll get a chance to see Matthew Levine and teammate Will Lyon next week. Good luck with the rest of your season, Matthew. We look forward to it.
Thank you.
Absolutely my pleasure. So that was Matthew Levine joining us from third place on the track. Next up, we do have Hugo Olsen, the man who it seems like if we're doing a broadcast now, he's showing up and running in the front. Hey, Hugo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Hugo, what an amazing race. It's amazing. You guys ended up finishing first, second, and third, but there was so much jockeying for position in the meantime. It certainly wasn't that way all race. We saw you clip into Will's lead there in the beginning, and then it seemed like you struggled a couple of times with the sets of tires in turn 2, a couple of times getting loose, and one time even going off track. But you pulled it back together. You finished second, and congratulations, your debut here in PMRL, starting second. That's almost as good as starting first in the finishing points, but you're right there for the championship.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it was very fun there, the first stint. A lot of movement back and forth, and I was able to close in to Will in the lead in the last couple of laps when he was on the red tires. I gambled a bit there in the beginning to go with blacks because I thought the track would cool down in the end and the reds would work better for the last stint and hopefully like make that a short one. It kind of worked, but and I didn't fall down too far with the black tires in the beginning, so it was fun. But yeah, for some reason the second stint didn't work out that great for me. I made a couple of mistakes and lost a lot of time. And after that point, Will was probably just managing the gap to me.
And he was managing to you, and we'll get a chance to find out what was really going through his head here shortly. But what was going through your head? Was there a point where you were trying to push really, really hard to catch Will, and you thought that you might be able to catch him on pace and perhaps make a pass? We also noticed that you had a great in-lap and were able to clip a full second off of Will's lead by the time that you had completed your pit stop cycle. So it looked like for a time you were making progress on Will. Was there a point that you thought you would? And then was there a point where you said, I just don't think I have it for Will today. I'm going to settle for second?
Yeah, I thought I would have something for him, like maybe trying something different on the last stint with tires or something like that. And since I was closing in at the end of the first stint, but then because of the mistakes in the second stint, I knew that I would still have a small chance if he made like a super big mistake, losing many seconds. But at that point, yeah, I was still pushing really hard to keep the gap where it was, and we were pretty even those like second, third, fourth stint. And to describe like how it was driving, it's basically like Grosjean described it like pushing every single lap. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like you were pushing hard. Towards the end of the stints on the black tires, it looked like you had your hands full just riding that car through the corners and it getting out from underneath you. But nevertheless, you kept it on track through the vast majority of the race. You held on to second place. And again, this is just yet another league where you're right up there in that title championship fight. That's got to look really good. You're going to a track where you have a lot of experience next week. Perhaps between you and Jesper, I would say you two probably have the most experience, though Alexis did win the last time out that we did the IndyCar iRacing series race there. Nevertheless, you're going into that place with a ton of experience, and you very well could challenge for the win there as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like short ovals. I think it's very fun, especially if you get some lap traffic and very interesting strategy, tire management, fuel management, everything. It's a lot of fun.
And it's such a different thing to do. If you could just talk about that for 1 second, how you would make adjustments here on a road course. Of course, you've got the weight jacker to go to. You'll make more aggressive anti-roll bar adjustments. Is there anything special that you'll do differently next week, more aggressively? Will you be watching those anti-roll bars and the weight jacker more than this week? Or, because obviously you couldn't use the weight jacker this week, but will you be adjusting anti-roll bars a little bit more than this week? Or was this week, were you adjusting anti-roll bars as much?
Yeah, this week for the race, I had to adjust ARBs quite drastically to get the car to rotate for me. Maybe like with the stiff rear ARB, that's why I lost it out of turn 3, got loose there. But I felt like you had to have it that way, because if you didn't, the front tires just went off and you couldn't make any speed with the car not turning as good. And also I noticed in the last stint on the red tires, when they got old, I was basically sideways every lap in the second to last left-hander, which is basically flat out over the crest there.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be sideways. You really do want the traction straight out of the corner. So you were definitely struggling.
Yeah, but for the short ovals, like you basically want to keep up with what the car is doing, how it's changing over the run. So you're always one step in front, because if you are one step behind, that if it understeers or oversteer, it's just going to increase so much if you don't keep up with your tools. So always tuning the ARBs and weight checker to keep the car balanced, and most of the times you have to watch the front right tire. So if you can lift early into the corners and really take care of that.
Yeah, you have to watch and take care of the car, take care of the tires. Well, you heard it here. He's gonna have to stay on top of the car. Extra amount next week. You'll get a chance to see it right here on VirtualRacing.Network. Hugo Olsen finishing second in his debut race, the first race of the season for the Prime Meridian Racing League. Fantastic finish here, and we look forward to seeing you next week, of course, on Wednesday at Gateway, and also for all of your fans that are watching, you're going to be there. I assume you'll be there for tomorrow's race for the Indy Fixed race as well, right? You're leading the points.
Yeah, I should be there if everything works out.
Well, there you go for the Hugo Olsen fans out there. He's the top Swedish driver here today. Do you have a word for your fans in Swedish that you'd like to say?
Yes. Jesper, imorgon är det en bana som du är känner dig lite mer hemma på, så då får du ta mig.
All right. I heard you say Jesper, and so I'm thinking you've thrown down the gauntlet to Jesper. He needs to step up his game, and perhaps next week will be the one to do it. Get a chance to see some Oval Masters really fight it out at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Thank you so much, Hugo. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow for that race and next Wednesday for PMRL.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have him with us. Hugo Olsen of Powerslide Motorsports, taking second in the PMRL. And now now that he's had a chance, finished talking with his team and his crew, and he's gone over all the data and checked out his car, made sure that Ian Bell's face on the front is not too dirty so that it looks good in the photos. Will Lyon, can you hear me, bud? You got a copy?
Hi, Trevor. How you doing?
I am brilliant, but not as brilliant as you, my friend. The champion wearing the number 1 number coming into season 2 looked like the driver that should have the number 1 on there. You made basically no mistakes. Perhaps, if anything, maybe a little conservative on your pit stop cycling would be the only thing I could even say went wrong for a second for you. But Will, you took the pole. You took the race. You didn't do anything wrong. Congratulations, and what a way to start the second season.
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for it to go any better. I don't think I managed to get the fastest lap, though. That's one thing that I didn't get. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was driving conservative at any point. I was pushing pretty hard the whole way through that. Hugo had some incredible pace, and I was just trying to keep him as far away as possible. Luckily, I think Matt had a battle with him in the first stint, which gave me a little bit of breathing space. It was probably like 3 or 4 seconds, and he cut that down a little bit more because he was on the primaries and my reds were starting to go off a little bit. So yeah, I was a little bit worried, and he gained a hell of a lot of time in the first pit stop. I have no idea how, because I don't think I made any mistakes, but I must have somewhere. And after that, I mean, I've just literally been pushing as hard as I can. I was going to go onto the reds for the third stint, but I decided to stick with primaries just because I assumed Hugo was as well. So I just thought, let's just try and match him. Let's not do anything daft, because I was going to go on the alternates, but I was a bit scared as they burn off towards the end of the stint, he would really close that gap down again. So yeah, really pleased. Yeah, it was a very strange race. Normally in this league, there's loads of side-by-side racing. This was the first time. I just had to get my head down and hit those apexes as much as I could, and that's what I did, I think.
And you did it masterfully. And that's all I meant by being a little conservative. We had no idea of whether you were conservative or not, but we watched Hugo manage to clip a full second off of that gap coming in and out of the pits. And so we thought, if anything, that's the one thing you'll probably go back and watch after this race and try and figure out what happened there.
Yeah, I've no idea how it happened.
But Road America, one of those tracks where you get into a groove, you find your rhythm with the car. It seemed like you really did find what you needed to. It seemed like you gelled really well with the setup in the car today. Hugo was talking about making adjustments to the ARB, needing to get some extra rotation out of the car. Did you find yourself having to fight with it much to get something out of the car today, or was it pretty good to go the way that it was?
Yeah, no, it was understeering really bad. But I was too afraid to touch the ARBs, to be honest, because I have done that in practice sessions, and then all of a sudden I've just, I've had a massive slide with the rear end, and I just thought I didn't want to take any risks whatsoever, and I moved the brake bias towards the rear a little bit just to help get a little bit of rotation. But yeah, the understeer was pretty bad, and it wasn't what I'd experienced with the car when I did a little bit of practice. So it was something to try and adjust to, and the amount of times I missed apexes, and I'm sort of cursing to myself, stop doing that. But it just kept happening, and yeah, I assumed Hugo was having issues as well. There was a couple of times. I mean, he was probably slightly quicker than me on average, but he just seemed to make those tiny little errors, losing 3 or 4 attempts, every couple of laps with a slight mistake. And I just thought, let's just not play with anything. Let's just do as solid as I can, push as hard as I can. But I'm not going to change the balance of the car just in case.
Exactly. Why mess with something that isn't broken? I can certainly understand that. We did see Hugo struggle. I mean, he mentioned the same as you, and we try to illustrate this, but there's no real way to say it unless you see the car sliding around out there and your arms flailing side to side. That you really are pushing 10/10ths, and it's hard to lay that car on the line every single lap, every single corner, and keep that thing straight. Hugo, trying to find a little extra speed, said he was playing with the ARBs, especially on that rear, and that actually, we saw one lap he got a little sideways coming out of turn 2, and then it was, I don't know if it was the next lap or the lap after, but he actually went for a ride out through the grass after turn 2. Exactly what you're talking about, getting that extra rotation, and unfortunately that's starting to cook the tires. So perhaps discretion, the better part of valor there, you hanging on to the ARBs and not giving yourself something to worry about. Now, speaking of something to worry about, you really didn't have to worry about anything from behind today, but I don't think it's going to be quite that easy going forward. There are a number of road course masters, including Hugo Olsen, to bring that fight to you. And Matthew Levine was also looking excellent today. Andreas Eich in the field. Number of these drivers have what it takes on road courses, but then we do have several ovals, and that's where everything can change, as you do know. How do you feel going into Gateway next week? Is this going to be a race that you have a lot of confidence in? Are you is this one that you've won at Gateway before?
I think the word for Gateway is apprehensive. I'm pretty sure I've definitely done an Indy Pro race there once, which didn't go very well from memory, and I think I've probably done 1 or 2 IndyCar races. But I mean, this is going back, before the tires got changed on ovals, so before we got the new damage model, I think, as well. So a long time ago, and I know that there's some phenomenal oval drivers in this league, so I'll just be doing my best to stay out of trouble. There's going to be a lot of us on that track. I think Hugo mentioned that traffic will be an issue, and I will probably be one of those people getting lapped. So we'll wait and see. I'll have to do as much practice as possible when we have some practice sessions next week. Try and get a feel for the car, and I'm looking forward to it though, but I wouldn't expect to be anywhere near the front. And I'm fine with that. It'll be good battling wherever I do end up. Perhaps saving fuel, saving the tires as best as possible. Looking forward to it. I think I said this last season. I do love how week to week in IndyCar, you're going from a completely different style of driving to another. It's one of the reasons I love driving this car.
love driving the car, and in a championship like this as well, where you get a chance to do both disciplines and really challenge yourself, of course, coming from the LMP background and winning championships there, coming over, winning the first championship here, the PMRL, and on your way towards the second one, but you got 9 more races to go. And as you said, multiple ovals. And so we look forward to seeing you challenge yourself as well as Matthew and SMS. And we'll see whether you guys can win the team championship again. It's got to feel pretty good, too, knowing that not only are you and your teammate first and third, but you've got SMS right up there in the lead position to start the season. Got to have a lot of confidence now. Even if you don't quite have a hang on Gateway, you still got to have a ton of confidence going into the second part of the season. Or second race.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we had 4 guys on track today, which was absolutely phenomenal. We managed to encourage some of Dan and Adam to join us. I don't think Adam will be there on the ovals, but we're hoping to have Dan with us for the rest of the season at every track. So that'll really give us a fighting chance. Dan is an oval maestro in NASCAR and cars like that. So hopefully slightly different types of cars, but hopefully you can transfer some of those skills over and lead the way for us on the ovals. And Matt is generally quite good at ovals as well, and I'm sort of the one lingering at the back, just trying to avoid crashing, really. So yeah, it was good fun. It was good having all 4 of us in the chat today, chatting through, helping each other out with, what tires we should go on next, and of course, talking about the latest updates for Project Cars.
As I was talking with Matthew, I was just telling him how you probably have to keep Will focused during these races, where his mind wants to start drifting and start talking about projects over at SMS. Nevertheless, that is great news that you managed to get 4 out of the top 8 positions for SMS. And that also speaks for Daniel's capabilities, because you say he's not much of a road course racer necessarily coming from a NASCAR side, but to qualify in 6th place and then finish in the top 10 here ahead of somebody like Andreas Eich, who has a wealth of experience on road courses. I think everybody better also watch out for this guy, Daniel Dinsdale, for SMS Racing as well.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, Dan is not just a NASCAR driver. I mean, he drives pretty much anything on the road side as well. And I think I mentioned at the end of last season when I hinted that we might have a third driver. I mean, he is usually quicker than me and Matt. And as he gets used to the car from week to week, I would honestly expect him to be challenging up at the top. And there will be races where he's definitely quicker than me as well. So yeah, it's just great to have us all together and fighting at the front end, and hopefully that can continue for as many of the races as possible this season.
You bet. Well, it was great having you during the off season in a couple of the other races that we were broadcasting, VirtualRacing.Network, and able to see your competition against even broader spectrum. But not a surprise to see you leading the championship again. You're a great representative of the championship, and I think we got 9 more races of excitement to go. So congratulations, Will. Anybody else to thank before we move on?
You know who I'd like to thank. I don't even need to say his name, Trevor, but he's got a bald head and he's got a great grin on him. So yeah.
Paul Tracy. No, Ian Bell.
Exactly. They're not Paul Tracy. No. But no, I mean, seriously, big thanks to Adam and Dan and Matt. It's been great chatting through strategies and how we've each been dealing with the different tire compounds. We're finding the tires different for each person, which is really, really good for IndyCar. It's great that the tires are so competitive now. It really adds a lot more strategy, and you have to really think about it as well to exploit the tires as best as you can. So yeah, really, really fun.
It sure does. All those new realistic challenges, as well as weather soon to be a factor, possibly rain going to enter the picture, probably not for the end of this season, but very, very soon. So it's getting better and better on iRacing, and also on Project Cars, but we'll just leave that alone. Will Lyon, our season championship leader and champion of season 1. Great to have you with us, Will, and we look forward to seeing the rest of the season.
Thanks, Trevor. Catch you next time.
Absolutely. great having him. And Julian, this was a heck of a race. It didn't really play out much differently than I thought, in terms of seeing Will and Matthew executing well and seeing Hugo Olsen up there in the top 3. But I was surprised to see a number of drivers that kind of slip back in the order. It's going to be interesting to see how they can rebound, not only next race, where a lot of these drivers really do excel on these ovals, but then going forward to the championship, and watch as they possibly can resurrect what was a very difficult day today. Is that about how you saw it? And what are you looking forward to next week at Gateway?
Yeah, kind of similar idea behind that as you have. So it's going to be great to watch the rest of the season unfold. We mentioned it earlier in the broadcast, by the way, the younger guys like Andreas Eick didn't really go too well for him today. He's going to look for some aggressive driving next week to get himself up in the picture for the championship. So yeah, it's going to be great to watch that Gateway up next. And yeah, can't really wait to see what's going to happen. There's always going to be an exciting race at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, better known as Gateway. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. I hope everybody will tune in next week, same time, same channel, Wednesday. Make sure to be right here at VirtualRacing.Network. And so on behalf of myself, I'd like to say thank you to all the competitors who showed up today and make this a great broadcast, and everybody who showed up to the YouTube chat room to chat on all the drivers. Really appreciate that. And thank you so much for subscribing. We're coming up on 200 subscribers on the channel. It's thanks to you guys for doing that and liking and subscribing. We appreciate it. For much more, obviously, stay tuned to our Twitter channel, Virtual Racing N, and Julian31 Altena, Velocity OR, and official PMRL. And so on behalf of myself, everyone else, and Julian Altena, I'd like to say thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next week at Gateway. Until then, bye-bye, everybody.
See ya.